This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, March 17th, 2020, episode 270. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Joining me, healthier than ever before, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing well. Hopefully you're surviving your quarantine.
I'm not quarantined.
That's happening. Have you left your house today?
Okay. Yeah, I went to work this morning. All right, Brian.
Oh,
I got
yes.
hot take for you. We've got a story or two that's going to talk about the C word, which apparently you're not supposed to say on YouTube. Not that C word, the other C word, the newer C word. So I'm going to tell you this, Brian. Okay, so okay. I know you want to introduce yourself, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
But let me just say this right off the bat.
Okay.
We are not going to be talking about coronavirus on this program. Literally, every other podcast I listen to, Brian, if it's technology, if it's sports, if it's anything, everything and anything is about this stupid ass thing. So that for the next 2.5 hours-ish on this program. Now, there's a couple stories that deal with some effects of that, but this is a safe space. Even though our name is quite the opposite. This is going to be a safe space for...
We'll probably have people thinking that we are where you get the latest news on how to deal with the quarantine.
We have been getting a lot of followers on Twitter. So this is going to be a safe space for the next 2.5 hours. We're going to talk about video games. We're going to talk about technology and all that fun stuff. So, Brian, without further ado, I just wanted to get that off my chest because I'll tell you what, man, I've been trying to listen to things to just listen to other things, get my mind off of the news, and I can't. Everything is wrapped around that. So 2 minutes into the program, that's it. See you next week, everybody.
Yes.
Okay, Brian.
Well, if you want,
what's your name?
First of all, my name is Brian, and if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Boise Computer. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. One thing you might want to do, especially a lot of people may be working from home this week. I mean, who wants to work? Come into the Discord server.
Oh, yeah.
Do that. Just look on the right-hand side of our website. It says join a server on Discord. That way you can chat all day with everyone. Also, if you want to get a notification for the live show, a lot of people may be home that weren't. And if you think you might be home for the next couple of weeks, then you might want to join our Steam group because you get a little notification right before the live show starts. You can jump into our chat, participate in the game giveaway. You can participate in the chat of different topics that we discuss during the show. So it's really helpful. If you want to watch us live, we have our Mixer, our YouTube, and our Twitch streams going. Also, we have all our audio forms. So whatever device you happen to be listening to us on or platform, we'll have a link for that on the audio-only versions. And then our show notes for now 270 episodes of the show. So if you want to go and see maybe a video or an article that we're referring to while we discuss things, we'll have those in the show notes for this episode. Also, if you want to support us financially, one way you can do that, first of all, though, you'll probably hear a couple dings here and there with the Twitch Prime subs. You can give those by just subscribing to us in Twitch. Or if you want to purchase something, it'd be purchasing as everyone's trying to purchase toilet paper. I guess you go on to Amazon like I did and purchase some toilet paper. You could do that through amazon.infectionpodcast.com. Also, you can go to humble.infectionpodcast.com, and that'll give us a little bit of a kickback for different Humble Bundle purchases that you may do. So thank you very much. And hopefully everybody enjoys the show. And maybe we'll have a few people that normally can't be here. I guess that's the perk of an outbreak and people being quarantined in their homes is maybe we get a few people to stay home and actually get to catch the show live. I can't hear you. I promise I cannot.
I'm an idiot. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what the effects of this are on, especially services like Discord. As you said, Brian, a lot of people home. I'm working from home. I'm sure you are either working from home.
Well, and I did
see
see an email from Discord saying that they have upped their capacity by 20% or something like that in anticipation of this.
Yeah, so obviously there's some effects on the Discord, I wouldn't call it a community, but this platform itself, and as well as a lot of other services like Slack and Zoom and all that fun jazz. But we're not going to do that on this program. Brian, I did it. If you would like to see me for 5.5-ish hours build a computer, I streamed it Friday night. Well, it was supposed to be in my YouTube channel. I don't see it.
Maybe it got banned.
I mean, oh man,
Google took it down. It was questionable content.
What's blocked?
Oh,
video contains copyrighted material. What?
Were you listening to music?
No. At the beginning, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, but it was a 5.5-hour live stream. Blocked. Copyright claim. All countries affected. Jesus. Well, there goes that. So
Never mind.
Nevertheless, yeah. I mean, yeah. What a pain in the ass. Fuck you, YouTube. That's all I have to say. I did build a new computer, Brian, and I had a good time doing that with our some of our Infection podcast folks. They were along for the ride, and here's a quick picture. They'll post a link in the show notes to the new setup here. I've got two 27-inch AOC curved monitors, and then some Asus monitor above that with all my stuff set up. And I'm rocking an AMD Ryzen 3900X, the GTX 1070, 32 gigs of RAM. This thing's a beast. And
nice.
As we're sitting here doing the show right now, my CPU is at 18%.
Nice.
And we are recording,
Perfect.
which is good. Hopefully we're recording. That would suck. But,
we'll find out afterwards.
Yep. So I did that. I'm super excited for that. Got some NVMe drives in there, so it's super speedy. And first computer I built in so I built the last computer I had, which is sitting right next to me over here. I built that right after we started Infection because the computer I had before that just wasn't up to snuff. So we started Infection in January. I built the new computer in February.
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
And then I just built the new one last week. Thank you, UGX Vibe, for the 25-month resubscription. We greatly appreciate it. And our friend Falcon is pointing out, what the hell is this? You guys are on the wrong side. So we've gotten this criticism for years.
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
And I've never wanted to change it because it's just work that I didn't want to put in. But now, since I was redoing anything anyway, I had to redo everything, all of it, for the most part. We switched places. Does this look worse? Does it look better? I don't really think it matters, but it seemed to make sense when I was going to have to spend hours redoing everything anyway that I went ahead and did that. So.
Yep. And it's fine. See, now, for me, I have screens that go pretty much all the way across here. So I would always put our video so that when I'm looking at you, I'd be looking in your direction on the left-hand screen. So now that I'm on the opposite, I just put your video on the right screen, and here we go.
So, but it doesn't look as cool as that.
Well, maybe it does.
It doesn't. Let me tell you something, Brian. Before we get into Brian's day trading. Right? He's got a Bloomberg terminal in his house. Before we get into anything, this was my first time ever using 144 hertz, and it's rather intoxicating. It really is. It is so even like looking at us right now. Obviously, we're not at 144 hertz, and my video I think is at 30. You can just see the snappiness and responsiveness of moving windows around, and I have a 60 hertz monitor above this. And if you play two of the same videos, put one on here and one up there, you can't really describe it. And I know a lot of people have 144 hertz, but I think it's a safe assumption that most people don't. So it's pretty neat, and it's relatively affordable. These monitors, which are now sold out, of course, knowing my luck, I would have waited an extra week and then they would have been sold out forever. they were like 250 something a piece, which is for a 27-inch 1440p 144 hertz monitor is a steal of a deal. So new computer, baby, new PC. Who dis?
Well, you have to let me know like what you think of it in the long term.
It sucks.
Or as far as like, well, once you use it for a little bit, because I'm going to be looking at eventually upgrading to something that, like with the Unreal development, it gets to be a pain when you're working with large assets, like a large map or something that uses a lot of resources. It's just as a pain because it's not nearly as efficient. You say, oh, well, a game, I can run this on a game, but that's optimized usually. But you're working on something in editor, it uses a lot more CPU. So,
well, even simple stuff like, not that my previous computer was slow. I mean, it was a nice i7, 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, it was a nice setup. But even things like having a bunch of programs open and then opening Photoshop, which isn't the most. It's not CAD. It's not Autodesk by any stretch of the imagination. But there's a lot of dependencies that load into Photoshop, and if you're loading up a large project like our Infection cover art, it's got a bunch of layers. There's a whole bunch of scenes there that are used for different things. That takes a while, and it's super quick now, so that's convenient. So yeah,
of course Sean feels like he needs to make fun of my RAID, but I do have here, just sitting here, one of the hybrid 2 terabyte Firecuda that
I've got a
at some
2
point we'll
terabyte,
throw in there.
I've got a 2 terabyte NVMe, and then a 1 terabyte
those are
NVMe.
fast.
They're very fast.
Yeah, and those are, have they dropped in price quite a bit? Because those
Yes.
used to be, I mean,
Yeah, they were dirt
even
cheap.
for not anywhere near a terabyte.
Let me see if I can. I think I showed this last week. Let me see if I can find it again. I think all in all, minus the GPU, which I already had, it ran me about close to $2,000 with tax. The NVMe, the 1 terabyte one was 100. The 2 terabyte one was about 220, I think, is what I spent on it. So little like $350 for storage, which isn't terrible. So
I'll have to price something out. I mean, it's really hard to say because with the speculation and everything, they keep saying, well, China being affected by all this is going to affect our availability of various hardware components and the pricing, and it's just trying to guess that and whether or not that's just fake. It could be that it's just 6 months from now, I'll be like, all right, what happened? But who knows?
Yeah. So
that's why I get to decide, do I need to buy it now or should I wait?
Yeah. So I'll post the link to the build in the show notes as well. It's not the most cutting edge thing by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I would say it's a good mid-tier computer. For sure. Yeah. So that's what I did the past week. Go ahead.
That's the crazy thing is looking at some of the CPUs that they have right now that AMD's, I mean, they've got CPUs that are $2,000-$3,000 that are like 128 cores. I mean, looking at those, like, well, which one do you do between that and then the base level? Like, what's the kind of the best deal for your money?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
so,
lots of questions around that, but yeah, we'll have that here. Hopefully on YouTube here. I'm trying to see if I can get that changed.
Maybe edit out the beginning and the end or something.
That's what I'm trying to do right now, which I should not be doing. But we'll post a link to all that stuff in our show notes. It'll be infectionpodcast.com. I'm no expert by any means, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And I want to thank, we had a bunch of people in the chat Friday night when I built it. PH was there, our friend Joe, our friend Sean, Nisco was there. Nisco was a huge help telling me my CPU was a little over voltage. So appreciate those guys hanging out, chat, and giving me some advice. So yeah, there you go. This is the whole thing. This is community. That's what we do here on the show. And Brian, here's something I'm playing around with. Obviously, so I'll be working home for about the next 6 weeks or so. And here's an interesting thought for you. I'm going to turn the dial back to 2000 ish.
Yeah.
You remember when people used to life cast?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking
Perillo,
I'm going to do that. Yeah, Chris Perillo, Steve Haywood, and the Tech Buzz. You had all these guys doing this, like, kind of just shooting the breeze while they were either working or doing something like that. I think I'm gonna do that on Twitch these next 6 weeks. So I'll be working from home. I work in IT. So what I'm thinking I'll do is I'll set up a camera that's kind of facing over me where you can't see all the screens.
Yeah.
But when I'm not on the phone or whatever, just be chatting about whatever for 8 hours a day. So I don't know if you're going to be doing, if you're going to be working from home, maybe we could, I don't know, we could like I don't know.
Breeze together.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm just thinking like, hey, this is a kind of thing that we could do all day is just keep this running. So many people are going to be home for the next 4 to 8 weeks that you can just kind of have like a Google Hangout, not literally a Google Hangout, but just this rotating group of people that are just hanging out, chatting throughout the day. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to open up I'm going to put a channel in the infection chat, and we'll go ahead and do that. We'll probably put a rank on it, and if you're, home,
so you don't have random people coming in.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
Ring
and we'll try to keep it like on the technology gaming side of conversation. So yeah, I'm gonna probably do that. So keep an eye out on our Discord, and I'll be streaming it on my personal Twitch, which is 360 Gaming Live. So,
well, I'm gonna try to go into work Thursday. I think just to do it. I don't have to, but I'll just go in one day, and then I think I'm going to be working most of the week for however long from home. So that's what I did today. That's what I did yesterday. So I'm fine with that.
Yes, sir. So hopefully you'll join us for that. Something I'm thinking about, though. Nothing is set in stone with that. All right. Enough showboating here. Oh, by the way, Brian, I do want a little bit more showboating. It's not really showboating. So I was going through some files as I was cleaning up, transferring data between my two computers. Do you remember when we submitted to Daybreak the idea that we would be on the tip screen? Like, you know how they had the loading screen? Well, I found this image, and this was our image submission to Daybreak.
High quality.
Yeah, tip. Listen to Infection Podcast, which it would say like tip.
That had been our Halloween episode.
It was, and this wasn't that long ago because I lived here, so this is like 2 years ago. So we had this, and that was a fun one, and then of course the infamous Dr. Disrespect on the program.
Oh yes,
sucking in Old Spice.
Oh, that stuff. I still have that. I've not really used it.
I can't imagine you have. So. Just a couple relics I found as I was, and so many screenshots. I'll tell you what, obviously I'm an adult, but I pretend to be an adult. So I wasn't literally, I wasn't crying going through the screenshots, but I was not emotional, but it was just like, I guess reminiscing would be the word to use, to see all these screenshots of all these guys that we had played, we played H1Z1 with. They were in our team speak, and to see like where are these people? Like, we're still here. Where the hell's everybody else?
I know.
So that was rather cool. I spent a lot more time than I should have cleaning up because I was going through the pictures and looking at our huge groups of guys and Miscreated and H1Z1 and even Arc when we first started playing that. So that was really cool.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. Infection Very Podcast. Good. 5 years of content. Not great content,
we've made
but
stuff.
Content. Yeah, we've done stuff.
We've streamed stuff. Here we go.
Yeah, hey, I can't complain about that. So speaking of, obviously a lot of people being home across the world, and this happened, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but Steam has hit a new peak of 20 million concurrent players. Now,
well, concurrent logged in users.
Concurrent logged in users, which if people are working from home, like myself, like, do you work on your desktop or do you work on your laptop when you're home?
I work on my laptop, but I leave Steam logged in all the time. Gotcha. I mean, right now it's logged out just because of the show, but my computer's always on. It's always logged in.
So I've been working on I set up my computer here with a different profile on Windows so I can have access to all that stuff and easily switch between it. But I would assume that has something to do with the fact that people are home. So according to SteamDB, 20 million active users online on Steam and 6.2 million in game. And this was as of March 15th. So I would
What's the
assume
usual in game? I wonder. That's what I'd be curious to hear. Is like, what's the actual, 6.2 million concurrent players? What is that usual?
I don't know. And now this is only, this is now. There'll be more. I assume this number they'll probably break 21 or maybe 22 when this falls into full effect across most of the U.S. So interesting to see, though.
I'm looking at the graph. Yeah. So I'm looking at the graph of what the concurrent playing is. And let's say, for instance, March 11th at its peak, it was at 4.7, a little over 4.7 million concurrent players. And then it peaked, what did it say? 6.3 million.
March 15th was a Sunday. So take that for what it's worth. But I would assume that number is going to go drastically up over the next couple of weeks.
Well, and you can see, let's see, for instance, Sunday, March 15th, that was its peak. And that was the 6.3 million, but, it was just under 20 million today. 19.7 million, 5.6 million in concurrent in game. So it's up there. It's definitely, you can see that it raised on average, it looks like about 2 million. About 2 million is what it raised between Friday, March 13th and today. And it's ever since the Saturday, it's kind of stayed up, because it was 3 days right around the same point before that. And then it jumped up on Saturday and it stayed right around that point till today.
Yeah. And I would imagine that's going to continue to be the case. So one of the effects obviously is more active players possibly in some games, and at least more people logged online. So cool to see that from Steam, and cool to see that those numbers.
Well, and one thing that you've seen a lot of different companies and I think Discord has done this, TeamViewer, all these different places.
TeamViewer has not put in, just FYI.
Oh wait, they've.
No, I still get the pop-ups.
Yeah, but they've changed slightly some of the limits and things like that for a lot of these sharing applications, remote desktop, Zoom, things like that. Yeah. They so that people can work from home and do different things. A lot of them have either, like for instance, my ISP, I already pay for this, but they have not done the charges for people on having unlimited bandwidth. So for this month, everyone gets unlimited bandwidth. And they don't have to pay the extra fee.
Firebomb rejoices.
Yeah, so maybe, who knows, maybe Firebomb can actually download the latest updates to his Steam library.
Load up your hard drives, babe. Just go to the store and start stock. Everybody else is buying food and water. He's stockpiling hard drives because he's got no data cap, and he's going to download every game on the Steam CDN. So yeah, that's interesting from Steam, and I would assume Discord's use is also significantly higher than normal throughout the day.
Yeah, and they did put out a notice saying that they've upgraded their capacity in anticipation for this. I think it was 20% or something like that.
Well, in the spirit, Brian, of talking about all these things, I think we could finally make our announcement, which is the Infection Podcast is going to be live on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 Eastern. And we will have a pre and post show. So we're going to be doing that for the people that are affected by this. Obviously, our hearts go out to everybody. And we'll be doing this show. So, we're doing our
every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
To help out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no, there's no agenda here. Every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on our Twitch channel and our Mixer and our YouTube. So, and
we'll have a link in our show notes for people that want to check out the pre and post show. Maybe people.
Oh, yeah.
If you're somebody who listens to this on the podcast form, or you watch only the YouTube videos and you don't get a chance to join us live, one of our listeners, viewers, Judd, has been cutting up the intro and the outros and putting them on its own YouTube channel. So if you want to check those out and see what you're missing, you can go ahead and catch those, and we'll have a link in the show notes to that.
Yes, sir. I want to talk about some Call of Duty, Brian.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to play Warzone?
I played it a little bit, but on the PS4.
Okay. Do you want to go first then? Because I've got a long ramble.
Okay, I'll just give you my initial perspective. So I just played like 1 or 2 games, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping I would personally. I mean, it just didn't give me that kind of like this feels like a really good BR. And so I've been playing Fortnite instead.
Oof. Old man Aldridge.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was going to say now.
You said you had a long rant.
Yeah. So a couple things. A couple of the big things with it is, in my opinion, unlike games like PUBG and Fortnite, well, not Fortnite necessarily, but Apex, this is pretty much how it goes down. And I apologize for the scatterbrain comments here because I'm just trying to piece this all together. It feels like the most BR game that I've played. There is not crazy armor that you're trying to get. There's not bigger backpacks that you're always trying to upgrade. There's not helmets that if you shoot them 4 times, they don't break kind of thing. That's a PUBG thing. There's 3 different levels of body armor. There's helmets. There's the frying pans and things you can put on your back to deflect bullets. There's really none of that stuff. There's these shields that you pop into the front of your vest. Every person's got 3 slots. You don't have to have 3. You spawn with 2. You could put a third in. You get shot. They break. There's no 5. There's no 6. Like, there's 3. Everybody's got 3. Helmets. There are helmets. I believe there's one type of helmet. That's it. There's not 700 different kinds and face masks that come down and all that. So
they do. I do like the variety in weapons, though, compared to some of the other BRs that we've seen.
That's the key. It's got every single COD multiplayer weapon. There's all of the SMGs. There's all of the assault rifles. There's the sniper rifles. There's even things like the rocket launchers and whatnot. There are grenades, different kinds of grenades, mollies, the little flare ones that light people on fire. So there's all that stuff. There's also kill streaks and whatnot, which is rather interesting, not something I'm used to. There's in-game bounties. So you'll run up to an area and you will be rewarded with XP in one mode to complete a bounty, which is most of the time they'll put a marker on your map and say, hey, you've got 4 minutes to go kill Brian and his team or whatever. So you beeline it across the map, you go find Brian, you try to kill him, you get the XP. So there's that mode. That's the BR mode of it, the typical battle royale. Then there's the other mode, this kind of almost like payday kind of mode, where your goal is to collect $1 million cash in the game. And unlike a BR, let's go back to the BR real quick. In the BR, you get in a gunfight, you die. You go to the Gulag, which is the bathroom map from 1v1 or 3v3 gunfight, and you 1v1 somebody else. If you win your 1v1, you get spawned right back in. You parachute back in from the plane. Or you're not from the plane. You parachute back in, you're back in the game. You're alive again.
That really threw me off because I've never played that before, and all of a sudden I'm spawned into some random place looking for this person, and then I don't know if I went in the wrong place because we didn't kill each other, but it awarded it to him. So I don't know. I just didn't know what to do. So kind of weird.
So there's that. It's called the Gulag. Now if you lose it, you're dead, but you can be rebought back in for $4,500, which isn't a astronomical amount. You can find that, and you can drop money for your teammates, which is cool. So they allow you to do that. So you're at no point are you ever completely out, because you can be bought back in as many times as your team has $4,500 to spare. So unlike a PUBG where you're out, I know Fortnite just recently added some sort of res system, but for the longest time they didn't have that. Apex was the first one to really have
bus vehicles that you go up to, and you got to get their card. You take it to a vehicle, and then it can bring it back.
Which is essentially what Apex did with the battle tag, and so they've got that. So at no point are you ever really out, which is neat. The 1v1 is awesome because it costs nothing, and you've got a 50 shot of winning. So That's super neat. So that's one mode. That's the Battle Royale mode. The second mode is this cash mode that we were just talking about, this heist kind of mode. The goal is to collect $1 million cash. You can hold as much cash on you as possible, but if you get killed, you lose half your cash. You respawn in 15 seconds. There are helicopter pads and whatnot around the map that you call the helicopter in. It's like a FEMA helicopter, like you see when they're dropping like the big things of water or whatnot, and it drops down this duffel bag that you hold F on, and it loads your inventory worth of money into it, and it flies away. The problem is everybody in the world can see that there's a helicopter coming into this one helicopter pad. So everybody kind of pushes on that, and it's just a mad dash. The goal is to get $1 million. The person that gets $1 million, that team wins. It's constantly respawning. You're never dead. 15-second respawns, super fast pace. A very interesting take on a game mode. When it first was described to me, I thought, this is super lame. I have zero interest in playing this. And I actually enjoy that more than the Battle Royale because there is no waiting period. It's every 15 seconds. If you die, you're right back in it with either no money or half your money, and you've got a gun and you can go kill people. So that's super cool.
Now, I think this could be a fun game for me, but I think I need to play with friends because I played with randoms. Yeah, and I have it on PC, and I even have the paid for version. So I have I don't know if it gives you any kind of perks for owning it.
You played it free to play on the console. What was that like? What was the process like? You just go to the store?
Yeah, it downloads, and then you launch in, and I think it has a place where you can choose between the different types. Where, of course, because it's free to play, it says, you can purchase it if you go to this other section. But you just jump right in and play. So I played the free to play on the console, but I have it on PC. I assume it has crossplay, so you should be able to. We probably could play each other and try it out.
Yeah,
but I'd be interested in playing with people because I was playing with randoms, and it just really kind of. I think it took a lot away from my experience. So if I took the time to kind of figure out the mechanics and how it worked, I probably would enjoy it. But it was a lot kind of to take in, and I die, go to this weird place, I didn't know what's going on. They have all these drops happening of guns, and
yeah, it's cool.
I mean, I'll just have to play for a bit till it's like, okay, I know what's happening, I know where I'm supposed to go. But I only played like 2 or 3 games, I think.
Well, what I find frustrating isn't the right word to use. What I am struggling with is that I sometimes just want to play regular COD multiplayer, and I talked about this last week, and I was right.
Mm-hmm.
I was right. I'm totally vindicated. My friends all want to play the BR mode. And not that I don't like the BR mode, but I love, and when I say I love, I mean I love Call of Duty. I love the fast pace, quick domination, TDM, kill confirm, capture the flag. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And everybody that's playing COD now is playing Warzone. Not everybody, but like the groups that I play with, everybody wants to play Warzone. And I'm not saying that Warzone's bad. It's one of these things that is super interesting to see what is the community going to flesh out to. It's the new shiny object. I get it.
Yeah, once people get over the fact that it's new, then you'd be like, okay, let's kind of like alternate in. We'll do some BRs, we'll do some regulars.
Yeah,
and mix it into the playlist.
And we have been playing some multiplayer, but it's not that I don't want to play the BR. I don't want to play a BR inside of Call of Duty, even though I really like the BR. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm so used to Call of Duty being Call of Duty, and now there's this other game mode other 2 game modes that are pretty comparable. The cash game mode feels just like a regular multiplayer game.
Yeah, and I haven't tried anything but that one, the one mode that I did. So
the regular Battle Royale. The 3-man teams. Now they are adding solos. I believe they added that today.
And I think they're adding a 5-man,
which they need to
as well,
desperately. That's a little disappointing that wasn't there off the bat. There is an article over here though on Engadget. This launched last Tuesday. We were on the air when that launched, and or it launched the day of. They're reporting here that Warzone racked up 6 million players in 24 hours, which
That'd be between console, PC, everything.
Yeah, which is great. So in 24 hours, they had 6 million unique players for this mode. Again, shiny new object, I get it. But that's a lot of players. And I'm trying to think, they do have a battle pass thing, I think. I'm not sure. What they're not doing, Brian, is they are not shoving it down your throat, which I appreciate. Now, there's a pop-up every once in a while, but just like any other game, you just close out of it. They are not shoving battle pass down your throat, which I appreciate personally. Just because I don't care. Now I'll probably end up buying it because I enjoy the game, but I don't want every single time you die, it's not like battle pass and get your perks and whatnot. It's like
when I play the mobile version, because you have the mobile Call of Duty, which I'll play every once in a while.
It's awful.
You have like between every single game, there's 6 or 7 pop-ups you have to click out of just to get back to the main screen. It's like, don't you realize each game you're popping up 6 or 7 of the same thing? You're not rotating one of them in randomly. You're showing me all 6 of the exact same one that I'm having to X out of every single time that I have a match.
Okay, what's more frustrating for you? Pop-ups on Call of Duty Mobile or pop-ups on adult video websites? Which site? Which is an easier user experience?
I don't look at adult websites, so thank you very much.
I'm sure at a point. My point is that it's probably easier to navigate those websites.
And my ad blocker would block any of those things anyway, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you wouldn't do that because you would never run ad blocker.
Oh, I'm an honest person, yeah. Got to make sure they get paid, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, come on, we're ad supported here on the program.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, right? We get revenue from Twitch. Oh, it's not ads.
Not for ads.
Prime. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Okay.
We don't get any money from ads.
Oh, don't tell Brian I'm making How do you think I paid for this new computer with all the infection money I've been telling you?
Oh yeah. I am. They did on my personal YouTube that I now can make ad money off of that.
Well, when are you going to upload a video?
I don't know. I'd been too busy.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, we're busy working from home. No,
but the old videos that people are still watching, we'll see if I actually make a penny or two.
Well, once you start making a penny, I'll stop donating to your stupid Patreon.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep you updated.
I appreciate that. So I appreciate that it's not super pushy with that. Mm-hmm. It's free. There's nothing to complain about. I didn't play Friday night. I know it was game of the week. I don't know if anybody played. I built my computer for like 5.5 hours, so I didn't play Friday night. But I played Saturday. I've played nights between here and there. What I do find is that it's not super frustrating. That likely will change, but because of the always being able to buy back in kind of thing, like a low stakes poker where you can constantly buy back in, first of all, your risk factor is a whole lot lower. So you take a lot more risks because it's not PUBG. You're not down and out.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't mean you're going to sit there and then do all that prep
for 35 minutes.
Set up work for 35 minutes just to get to the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And then to watch your teammates run around like idiots for another 15. That doesn't happen. So I find that, at least in the groups that I play with, we're running towards gunfights. We're like, oh, this sounds like it's over here. Let's go. Because that risk is so low, and because the skill difference, because there's not chest plates and whatnot that are tier 1 versus tier 4 and helmets that are tier 1 versus tier 3, all of the gunfights for the most part feel I don't think I've ever had more balanced gunfights than in this Call of Duty, because there really isn't anything that makes it unfair. Everybody's got 2 chest pieces to start, and the world is littered with the third. So everybody's pretty much got the exact same amount of health. And for the most part, everybody's got an assault rifle and or a sniper or something else. So the question is, who's better at hitting their shots, me or you? And I think
that personally, like the whole Call of Duty and a lot of other similar games, CSGO, things like that, that's what it really comes down to. That's the skill. It's not about, oh, I have this, I learned this stupid. The thing that frustrates me about Fortnite is the whole building system, which I understand is unique about it, right? A lot of people use it, but when you're playing on a console, the building mechanic is just not the same as on a mouse. Mouse and keyboard and being able to do macros or whatever you're going to do to do all this stuff, it just isn't the same. And so it gets kind of frustrating dealing with that. I'll do some building, to kind of get places and to maybe block shots, but I'm not sitting there and doing all the crazy mass building every fight. But I appreciate more of like what Call of Duty does. It just comes down to, can I outshoot the person? Can I outplay them?
In most cases.
Am I building all of this? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or in PUBG, did I hit the loot lottery and manage to find a level 4 vest? Which is a lot of what that is.
I think they've
There's
gone
no skill in
that was
finding a
definitely
good vest.
I think that's where in PUBG they really went overboard to where there was such a difference between, oh, I just happened to find this, which makes such a drastic difference. It doesn't come down to skill as much. I mean, we'd go in there 15, 20 minutes, sometimes looting, and we wouldn't find the top level gear. Then randomly, sometimes you'd go to one place and you'd find almost all of the top gear in a couple of buildings. And it came down to RNG, less of the actual skill, which I didn't like as much.
No, agreed. And it was definitely frustrating as as a player. So that's Call of Duty. Would highly recommend that you download it. It is free. Game of the week again this week will be that. It is free. I'm looking forward to playing it with everybody, and we'll be doing that Friday night in our Discord.
And I may try loading it up on the console to see if we can get it to see how the grouping. I'd be interested to see how the grouping system. I updated it today on my PC, but I also have it on the console. So I may try loading it up and just see what the experience is, grouping up and playing between because that's one thing that I really like about what's happened this year and this past year is the fact that you have the ability to play with other people regardless of what platform they're on. And so I would assume that this is pretty seamless as well.
Agreed. So there you go. Call of Duty. Check it out.
And one thing that they did put on notice of is they're looking at doing the 200 player matches.
Oh,
so
cool.
They're going to be doing five man groups, and then also having 200 players in a match. And that's probably when it comes down to
solo, right? Probably.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. They say, I can tell you we have 4 and 5 player squads we are already playing with, but we want to launch with something we know works really well, and we have tested to the 9s, and they play around with these different team sizes. So that's for that.
Okay.
And they said, it says this Warzone makes use of its huge numbers with a unique respawn mechanic, so it's suited well to larger player numbers. Of course, 200 players will make it even harder to win. So I think they're just trying to balance it out, but they will be doing the 200.
With the 5-man group, there'll probably be 200 people in the game, which makes a lot more sense because the team size.
So they can get more groups in.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're going from 3 to 5. That's a significant difference. You're shrinking.
You don't want to cut down the number of groups coming in.
Yeah.
You want to keep.
I don't even know
up.
How many players are there now? Is it 100 or is it like 60?
It's 150.
Oh, it's 150 now. Okay, I didn't even know.
I do 150 player matches right now.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So they're going to be adding 50 more. So that would be that'd be 10 5-mans. So I mean that's pretty impressive. So and I assume that they didn't do it out of the gate because the performance probably isn't tuned yet. I mean, a new game and doing all this, it's kind of scary to sit there and do your max capacity day one. It's better if they figured out the bugs on something that gives them a little bit of leeway for performance and then up it as soon as they see that it's stable.
Agreed. So,
all right. So are you ready to talk about another game here really quick?
Yeah, sure.
This is a video, but New World. So, Smedley, the project that he's been working on over at Amazon, at least one of them, they did a developer diary for their New World game that's going to be released here pretty soon. And it's discussing combat weapons. There's not been a huge amount of information about. We saw something a couple months ago, that was showing some of the what to expect, as far as the worlds and some of the mechanics. But you haven't seen a lot of the little details about the weapons and the things of how it's actually going to work. The play test that they did really didn't show much of the game. I think it was purely them testing their servers and being the multiplayer of it. Didn't really include any of the mechanics other than basic building and crafting. So this hopefully gives people a little bit more information to see whether or not this is something that they'll be interested in, because it should be coming out, I think, a little bit later this year.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's take a look at this New Worlds video.
World is an MMO, but unlike MMOs, our combat system is 100% real-time action combat.
The way you move, the way you position yourself, the way you dodge and lunge, all matters. It's more like an action RPG than a traditional MMO.
It's not just gear and stats and things that are going to decide who wins a fight. Positioning and tactics and reaction times and knowing what the different moves an enemy is capable of really affect how successful you're going to be.
You have to move around in space and you have to set up your attacks, how you're dodging. It makes it very dynamic and visceral.
100% real-time combat.
Weapon Mastery has added a ton of depth and strategy to our combat system.
In New World, the Weapon Mastery system allows a player to grow more proficient in the types of gameplay that they enjoy and they do the most.
So each type of weapon has a different skill tree. As you continue to use that weapon, you'll develop more proficiency and you'll be able to unlock new abilities and bonuses on the skill tree. You can either focus on a specific type of weapon or you can spread out and try all different types.
Whatever gear you're wearing, you can have different gear that makes you play different. So if you wanted to be a frontline tank type of player, you could get heavy armor with a shield. If you wanted to be more of a backline shooter, you want something lighter that can allow you to be a little more flexible with a gun or a bow.
Like if you want to go in with rifles, a blazing, or you want a bow and arrow, or you want to just sword and board, you can actually equip those. So as you grow as a player, you can have different loadouts at the ready. So whatever the situation calls for, you have all these different types of ways that you can deal with the situation and your play style.
A lot of MMOs, you will choose a class, and that will determine the way that you progress. New World's doing a little bit differently, where you pick up a weapon and start fighting with it. And as you fight with it, you begin to earn progression points for that weapon.
As players use weapons, they now gain experience with those weapons. That experience gives you points that then you can invest to specialize amongst the different trees.
So your great axe, which is a giant two-handed axe, will have a skill tree. We want these weapons to feel so different depending on the choice you make that it almost feels like a class choice.
With the hatchet, for example, you can focus on throwing or on melee damage. With the sword and shield, you can either focus on offensive damage or more defensive buffs.
With all these different combinations, there's just an enormous amount of variety that the player can achieve. So magic plays a huge role in New World, and what's special about it in New World is that anyone can do magic. How effective you are at magic will be determined by how much attribute points you spend. If you put a lot of intelligence in and focus, your magic will be much stronger than other people.
If you spend enough time with the combat system, you can eventually get good at all of the weapons in the game, and you can change your loadout on the fly based on what you want, what your party needs at the time, what the encounter calls for. Endless customization for the user. One of the most fun things to do in New World is PvP, meaning player versus player. It doesn't stop with just one-on-one, it can be groups in battle, it can be armies in battle.
There's a lot of different ways to experience PvP in New World. The two biggest are faction PvP, which after you join a faction, you can then flag. So you go to Sanctuary, you turn on your PvP flag, and then you can battle the other two factions in PvP once you're flagged. Now you can only damage other people that are flagged, so it is an opt-in PvP system. It's a system that really rewards skill. It's a system in which a level 50 player can beat a level 60 player, and that's super cool to me.
Players can also sign up to participate in territory wars, even without being open world PvP flagged.
So wars can be conducted between different companies when you're trying to take over a territory. And in war, it's battles of 50 on 50, an attacking side, a defending side. It's really the pinnacle moment of PvP in the game.
All right, Brian. I'd consider you somewhat of an MMO expert based on your previous service to the country of Warcraft.
To the WoW community, yes. Azeroth, yes.
That loser. Does anything about this Anything about this give you a fizz or anything like that? Is anything about this like, oh, I'm super interested in MMO again? What's your
Here,
take
so
on it?
I'll break it down a little bit on what I heard.
Yes, sir.
First of all, they were talking about pretty much not having a skill tree for the player itself, which
means
is
what?
pretty much stating that there's not a class system.
Okay.
You don't create a character and say, I'm a mage, I'm a hunter, I'm a warrior. It sounds like what they're doing is you're a base character. You're a character in the world that then starts just doing things. You pick up a weapon. That weapon, as they said, has a skill tree. Sounds like you're then picking two variations. So for that weapon, you're customizing it one of two ways. They mentioned the throwing axe versus a regular axe. So you can take that weapon, specialize it to be a ranged weapon or a close proximity melee weapon. They'll probably do that, something similar with all the different weapon variation types. Have, even if it's some sort of a magic one, maybe it'll be a frost versus a fire. Who knows, whatever, or a melee staff versus a ranged magic staff. And so that'll really kind of allow you to then do the equivalence of a class system. You'll have to put it sounds like you'll have to put in decent number of hours for that weapon to be able to get it proficient to where you have the ability to use all of the special mechanics of the weapon. Also, that it's really rewarding you for playing time.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, because you will go in and pick up various weapons, be able to make predefined, it sounds like groupings of outfits, like a closet in a way, and then you can put on your tanking outfit, which has weapons and pieces of clothing that you've put together and grinded the experience in to make it to where you're a suitable tank. So this is different than most that I've seen. WoW doesn't do it this way. Doesn't, you grind for gear, but you don't level up your gear. You may, in your levels, you're specializing your character, you're setting what the specialties of your character are in WoW. But this one, it sounds like you just have a character that as you play, you're making the gear. And that's where there's one thing, I saw some people in chat kind of mentioning the whole PvP system and how they don't like that. I think if they reward PvP enough, like for instance, you get something special for doing PvP, that you'll have people opt into PvP and it'll become a core mechanic of the game. So I don't think it's bad that the whole opt-in system, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but they need to reward it to where people are constantly PvPing, that it's pretty much like, you jumping into war zones, into battlegrounds on WoW, and doing those to grind PvP points so that you can get, WoW, you'd grind PvP points to maybe get a special set of gear or whatever it is you're trying to do. I think if they reward it well enough, that system could work very well. But it also makes it to where the people that are PvE players that don't want to PvP, they just want to go through the content, work on their character, allows them to still go through the world and not be harassed by players when they don't want to be. So this is all different. It's tough when they bring in new different mechanics that haven't been truly tested before. Some things could take, some things could flop, but I think they're really thinking through the mechanics, and it could be very interesting to play. I've personally, because I opted in to get this early enough, like I signed up for their trial because they said originally this was going to be free, and it's not free anymore. So they're giving me a copy of the game. So as soon as it comes out, I'll be able to play it and we'll see how it is.
Did you get a little bit of a Rend vibe from it? Rend seemed to have some pretty similar systems in regards to, I remember Rend's PvP was very much like that, where you wasn't necessarily a flag, but it was very specific based on who you were with and what area of the game you were in as to where.
I mean, it sounds like this is going to be a kind of like a PvP zone that you go into. There are, WoW even had this for certain servers. You could go to an area that had PvP and then other areas of the server were not PvP. But this, I'm sure if they release this and it doesn't work, they'll adjust it. I mean, this is a new mechanic. If people, it may be better they find later just to have zones that when you enter them, they're PvP and it's not a flag system, where you're flagging yourself for PvP. WoW has this as well, where you, even on a PvE server, you can flag yourself for PvP and go PvP people. If someone attacks you on a PvE server and you're PvP, you then have the ability to fight them. So it's kind of a mix of a couple different MMO type games is what I'm seeing.
Gotcha. Well, something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, big money behind it. You're Amazon.
I mean, it's Amazon. I'm assuming they're going big.
I would. The only reason they wouldn't go big is if it was their own doing. There's no other limitation in front of these guys besides making a game.
I think it's going to be one thing that really interests me is I think this is going to be a really big world.
Yeah.
So
I would assume why not?
I bet because they've got a huge server system ability to really do this right. I would think that they're going to turn around and just make a gigantic world, kind of showing off their abilities with the whole cloud hosting and try to get people on their platform. I mean, this is really showing off of their whole engine and the platform that they're building. I mean, why wouldn't you make the biggest thing you possibly could to say, hey, come build on our platform. Look what you can do.
Yeah.
So
I want to thank our friend Big Woody Sauce for hitting us up with the 17-month resubscription here. And his comment is, I've been preparing for this quarantine my entire life and I'm loving it. Well, thank you, Ross.
Perfect.
I mean, this guy didn't go to work anyway. He worked from home all the time anyway. So this is a dream for him.
And Falcon points out with this, with the mechanics of this, they could maintain that by making skills diminish over time if you don't use them. I mean, it could make it a little more fluid, to where you don't just get super powerful characters that just because they've been playing for so long, but have it to where if you don't use a skill, you lose it over time or you become less proficient in it. I think that, it'd be interesting to see how they do things like that.
Yeah. Well, something to keep an eye out for. And as you said, they've been relatively silent for the past couple months. And that
I think that's better for them. And I think that's a smarter move, is to not constantly try to be in everybody's face, because then people are like, well, why aren't you? Why isn't it released yet? Like, just keep putting little information out there. People don't seem to be getting impatient. They're not saying like, why isn't this out?
And I would assume that Smedley learned a little bit, just a little bit in his experience at Daybreak, that opening the book to the entire world when you're developing a game is not
doesn't
the best
always
approach.
Work out the best. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's New Worlds. Now, speaking of games that we don't really hear from all that often, Brian, Dead Matter released a new devlog video. And I know this is probably would you say this is the most anticipated survival game right now?
I would say
it's gotta be.
I don't know if it's one of them.
I can't think of another one that's like to this level, that's going to have these, that isn't super, super early access. This has got to be it.
Then I would say, it's probably the one that's coming out maybe, so hopefully this year.
Yeah. So here we go. A little bit long on the video side, but they're always packed full of content. This is the new Dead Matter dev blog. It's a summary video. So we'll watch that and we'll discuss right after this.
Hey guys, welcome back. The Dead Matter team have graced us with another blog update, so it's time for my usual audio summary for those that prefer to digest through listening rather than reading. Before I get started, I've got some huge news which I'm very excited to share with all of you. From here on, my videos will be directly embedded into the updates written by Regicidal Nut and will be your official source on the day these blogs go out to you guys. My videos will be ready to go before each blog post is actually posted. A huge thank you to the Dead Matter team for making this opportunity possible, and of course for all of you guys for watching my content. You're fantastic and I can't thank you enough for the support so far. With that out of the way, let's look at what the team have given us this time around. A quick reminder that all of this content is a work in progress and is subject to change as development progresses. Reggie opens this update by mentioning that the team have been reading through feedback with regards to the gameplay shown in Vlog 10, and that they're looking forward to showing off more as the development continues. A lot of changes have already been made based on the feedback from the community. After this, we dive right in with a look at Space Timebender's work in map design, focusing mainly on the Canmore area and surrounding neighborhoods. The images you're seeing on screen are known as the first phase of detail, which is a representation of how these areas looked before the outbreak. The second phase of detail will be to add another layer to this design, which shows the panic and the destruction that followed the outbreak. Nihito has been working on some burned versions of emergency vehicles, which we'll see scattered throughout the map as a design implementation. Things like this will help to emphasize the devastating effect of the outbreak itself. Nihito has also been working on working liveries for them, such as logos and light bars for emergency vehicles, as well as improving the various lighting effects that will come with that. Alongside these burned out variants of vehicles and their working liveries comes some crashed and wrecked versions, which we'll also find throughout the map. This is going to give us a little bit of variety, and I hope to see these in some very interesting situations. On top of all this, Nihito has also added some props for the game, which will provide us with potentially valuable loot spawns as well. Now, this part I'm very excited for, and you'll soon see why. Stefan is next up, who has been working on a backer weapon, the M700. This backer weapon was purchased by myself and Finest XI, a very close friend and fellow content creator, with the help of our amazing Twitch communities. I'd like to take the time to thank each and every member of both communities that helped make this possible. Our specially designed skin will be shown at a later date, and you can bet your ass that I'll be making my own video on this once it's finished too. Next up, we get a look at the latest work of Shiny Haxorus, who has been busy working on the VZ58, which is a Czech-made rifle popular amongst collectors in Canada. I'm going to give you guys a look at the footage of this weapon contained in the blog, and I'll continue with the rest of the updates right after. Enjoy!
So now we're going to look at some some different weapons and the attachments on them, and you can see all that stuff laid out. Seems to have relatively realistic effects here, Brian, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this too, I mean, I'm looking at the mechanics of the weapon, you know, just they're really working in the animations. They've done a really good job of making it to where it's very precise. Like a lot of times in games when they're doing testing, things don't quite look like they're actually clicking in, you know, it just kind of slides into place.
Yeah.
They've done a really good job with the animation to get into the detail. I mean, even you're seeing the ejections of the shells, like that. It looks really very good.
Yeah, it does.
So
it kind of reminds me a little bit of Tarkov. I'm not saying it is literally Tarkov, but it reminds me a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of Tarkov in that nature.
Yeah, it looks like they got a decent variety of weapons too, as far as what you're seeing on the ground.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through a little bit of that there, and we'll take a look at the rest of the devlog right now.
Following on from this, we take a look at Nomad's recent work. Nomad has been finalizing the electrical system in the mine and making it much more flexible so parts can be unplugged from the main box. This will require players to find and plug in those units to restore power. The giant fan Nomad has been working on will now also kill players, if you're curious enough to see how sharp those blades are. Now this next bit is really interesting, and I can't wait to see the finished result. Gunschlinger, my third favourite German, has been putting in work with a new lockpicking system. This is a quick reminder that anything shown here is a work in progress and is of course subject to change as time goes on. Good audio and visual feedback is hugely important to this system and is Gunschlinger's main focus currently. Here's some more footage for you to enjoy on that note.
Definitely a Fallout feel for the mechanic.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about a mechanic like this in a survival game that's not single player.
Yeah, but it's a limited number of players. It's it's not a massively multiplayer. It's what, 8 people on a map.
Rizla has been
There's a
working
limited
with
number.
a wide variety of props and furnishings that will be used to flesh out the environments we're exploring. Rizla made his own statement for this video, which I'm going to read to you. I'm also going to leave a timestamp in the description if you'd like to skip over this, as it does get a little bit technical. You can find the images that Rizla is referring to in the blog post itself, which I will also leave a link to in the description of this video.
All right, and on that note, we'll bow out of that at that point, just due to the showing pictures and whatnot for our audio listeners. Very cool to see, Brian, another studio similar to what Facepunch is doing with Rust, taking a content creator who makes the content anyway for the videos. This guy, Mr. Atomic Duck, has been making like he always does this. Now they are going to give him early access to the game. I assume they're paying him something, I'd hope.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
So he is now going to make a little extra cash. And by the way, if he's not making cash on the videos, now that his videos are going to be embedded on their blog posts, getting AdSense, this is a win-win for everybody. Because we struggle with that. Brian and I don't want to sit here and read for 9 minutes. It's boring. But if somebody puts it in a video and puts everything all together and has early access to the game, it makes it a whole lot easier. So he's essentially doing shadow fracs for Dead Matter, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So as those updates come out, we'll show them here on the program, and as they continue to embed those, we'll show that.
And that one thing PH is pointing out, like that's one thing I'm curious of, because I know that they've gone back and forth on the number of players, and then recently they changed the number, like how the maps even work, and you have to load into various maps. That's one thing I'm curious of, is what is the player cap going to be? How many people are going to be in one area? Because it's been back and forth, and I'm not sure what it's ended up on, or if they've even fully decided the number of players that there's going to be. Because originally it was going to be like an 8-man group, and then now they have the zoning system to where maybe they'll have more, but you'll have a limited number per zone, and I'm really curious to see where that actually ends up being.
Yeah, I don't think they know, and that's why we don't know. People are like, oh, show us this, show us this, show us that. I don't think they know.
No. I'm assuming that they're going to do play testing and figure out, well, how many can we handle before? Because they've got so much detail. What most people don't realize is when you put in a ton of variation, that creates a lot of overhead for what's called replication. Replication in multiplayer games is all the details that need to be sent to all the other players. This is something that we discussed, or really came where we started discussing on the show with Miscreated, when we saw that they did replication incorrectly, or the engine did, and it really just hammered the servers and caused everything to slow down. Well, here they've shown having it to where I think there's fires in the grass, or the grass parts, and there's tons of zombies. There's all these things that variables, like you saw with the electrical system and doors being opened and all these little things happening. All that has to be sent and updated to all the players on the map for anyone that it's relevant to. So if you don't have that if you don't have it optimized, then you run into an issue to where, like Miscreated ran into, you're just hammering your servers, and people with maybe slower internet connections or not, that are lagged, will run into weird results. So, yeah, this is something that'll be interesting to see what they end up kind of settling on as far as their player counts. So PH is pulling out a quote here. He says, even for the closed alpha, the cap will be around 36 people. So we'll see if that's something that they stick with, if they're pushing for more than that. But I'm still trying to figure out what the game is actually going to be, because it seems like every update it kind of changes.
Yeah, I agree.
It used to be this was like a kind of a co-op game to where it's you versus the environment. That's what they originally pitched it as. But then, personally, I like the idea more of it being you versus a large group or a large world. I just don't know 100% what it's going to be anymore, because it seems like it's been adapting and changing over the past year.
Yeah. I don't think there's really enough to make a conclusion yet. And when that's the case, things can become incredibly dangerous in terms of what we talked about on the program over the last couple weeks, which is, for example, we read the note about Z1 Survive, Z1 EX last week about the expectation, which we're not going to rehash again. So I don't really have an opinion on that matter. I hope it looks like it looks like a lot of the great features from Miscreated and Fallout and all that kind of pushed into one multiplayer game, which I don't think we've seen yet. But I think we're way too far away from anything coming out to, something that masses are going to play for some period of time.
Well, with the amount of detail, one thing that kind of makes me just unsure is I see all the detail and I understand the ramifications that all these details that they keep putting in and all these features have on the system, that I think that they're going to, as they get closer to player tests and really seeing what's the impact is, I think that's going to start affecting what the actual end result is very much. Right now in play tests with limited numbers of people, and when you can set the ideal parameters, it's easy to test and say, oh yeah, we can get 60 people on here, but then do that in a real world situation, and I'd be curious to see what the performance kind of settles down to.
Agreed.
And they may totally rework it at the very end and say, oh well, this is 50 player we'll they may change it based on the results.
Yes, sir. We'll keep an eye on that. Last Oasis, we have an official video, Brian, with a release date, which is probably a lot sooner than you think. March 26th. So right around the corner, which is kind of unexpected just because of the fact that they've delayed a couple times now. And we do have a big game coming out next week, Doom Eternal, which I don't think will necessarily take away from this, because Doom Eternal is a single player. There is a multiplayer, but it's a single player game, and once you beat this story, you'll be done. So I'm not sure what effect this will have. I'll tell you what, I would not want to be releasing a video game right now with everything going on. Yes, people are home, but this is not the time that I think people are going to want to spend 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks on a video game.
I mean, just not to get deep into Corona, but right now people are feeling a sense of uncertainty.
Correct.
Uncertainty does not cause people to spend money that they consider extra money. Yeah, they don't spend frivolously. People are spending just to break down the mentality of the human mindset. I mean, just look at what's happened with toilet paper in the past week. You have people that when they feel like there's a loss of control, and this is what hoarding behavior, if you go down into the mentality of hoarding behaviors, not just due to something like this, but due to loss, and anytime a person feels like they have lost control, the human mentality will tend to hoard. Well, you take that in the mentality of, are people going to go and turn around and spend money on a video game? Well, that's not the type of thing that they will feel security in. They're not going to feel security in they'll feel security in having a bunch more food than they need, having some sort of material they use and they feel like is a necessity. But they are not going to go turn around and generally spend money on something that is considered frivolous. And video games right now, until people feel secure in the fact that they're going to have a job, because right now there's some of us that work in fields that people can work from home on.
Well, and we're busier. I'm busier than ever at work.
Yeah. And so you're probably supporting a lot of people that are trying to figure out, hey, we're doing remote work now. We're doing all these things. We need to get all this working. For me, our company's set up in a way to where people can work remotely whenever they really feel like it anyways. So we were already there. It was just stay home. But there's a lot of people that have jobs that actually require you to show up. They're jobs where you're actually doing something with your hands, or you're doing something that requires you to be there. Yeah. Anyone working in hospitality or working in something, I mean, there's just a ton of people that feel like they don't know what a month from now is going to be for them. That is not what is going to encourage people to spend money. So I think that's not, people could say, oh, well, they may spend a certain amount on a game that they know has a track record. They may spend money on something that they're confident in, but they're not going to be spending on an uncertainty like we've seen in the past.
So fortunately for Last Oasis, I assume, how much is the game going to be? A couple, probably 25 or $30.
$30, probably 30-ish bucks, I would assume.
Let me see if they've got a price on Steam. So for Last Oasis, they've got that going for them. But our friend Ross, of course, Big Woody Sauce, is bringing up Doom in 3 days, which we just talked about. Doom is going to be a $60 title. And he says probably huge sales numbers. There will be huge sales numbers, but I guarantee you they're going to be a whole hell of a lot less than where this whole situation not going on with people and some uncertainties on unemployment and, the economy as a whole. So Last Oasis might be able to get away with it. But for Doom, $6 is a lot of money. I mean, $60 at a grocery store buy a lot of food. I mean, just saying. So
if you can get it.
No, that's not the point I'm making. Again, I'm not talking about this specific situation, but people are, I would assume, and I'm going to make sure to do the same thing, even though my job's not really a threat. It could be. I have no idea. I'm going to, as I just spent $2,000 on a computer, I'm going to absolutely not, I plan on getting Doom. I'm probably not going to right away.
Yeah.
Just because it's a security thing. Not that I don't have $60. I feel more comfortable I feel much more comfortable keeping that $60 where I could liquidate it. Yeah. That's all.
Well, and I think that this is going to be where people are willing to spend money on those ones that have a track record. And that's what I mean. Like Doom, they feel like Doom has a track record. Call of Duty, if they're going to spend money on a Call of Duty or whatever it is, they know that is going to be what they consider an investment in a video game. This, where people have no clue really how the game is even going to work, I think you'll see people much less likely to spend money on one of these kind of unknown companies, unknown titles with mechanics that are iffy. So,
yeah. So that's Last Oasis. That's coming out here on the 26th. No price officially on Steam, but you can go ahead and add it to your wish list. Maybe, Brian, you are looking for something to do over the next couple of weeks. 7 Days to Die is on sale. They are on sale till the 23rd. Perfect time for a sale for a game like this. And you want to talk about something you can sink your entire life into. 7 Days is that game. Big sale, 66% off. You can pick up this game for $8.50 or a 2-pack for $14, which is a bargain if you're looking for that. So that is that's 7 Days to Die. So they've got that, but then they've also got some a couple new things that they're working on here, including a remake of one of the zombies here, and you can see what she looks like now.
This is Arlene, by the way.
Arlene, and she kind of looks on par with some of the other characters in the game.
Some of their newer ones, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they have some. If you look at some of them, you can tell what's their original models. They're fairly low res, but they have some of the newer ones that they've actually gone through like this and made it a little bit higher poly. Now it says low poly test, just so people understand why it says low poly is you'll make it high. The term I always use, make it high and then you bake it low. So what you're doing is you're making it a super high quality resolution with tons of detail that you then use some various tricks with with some of the various types of image files that you attach to these to give it depth, to give it certain color, and then you can make it look like this while having it actually be a much lower resolution, lower poly image, but it looks like it has a ton of detail. So that's what they're showing you now.
Yep, and that's the new one of the new zombies. Oh, it's not a new zombie. It's they're reworking the zombie. It's the current
remake of
she's the one. She's like the tip. I think she might be the only female zombie in the game.
No. There's remember there's the stripper zombie. They've got
she's the main female zombie though.
Yeah,
she's the woman zombie that you always see. She's everywhere. Yeah, there is the stripper zombie, of course. Can't forget that.
And they got the stripper zombie. They've got the cheerleader zombie. They've got
the big fat zombie.
The big lady.
Yeah. So there you go. Cool stuff from 7 Days to Die. If you're looking for something to do,
if you don't own it, I mean, you need to get it while it's on sale. This is a game that's an excellent game. I would definitely make sure to pick it up because it's a game that you will play in the future. We'll be doing it for a game of the week, I'm sure, pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Do we have a game giveaway, Mr. Brian?
Yes, but let me. I'll get it set up here really quick. I don't have it.
So while Brian's doing that, let's quickly talk about XERA Survival. We've got a new dev vlog here, development blog, and this is some of the things that they're working on. There's a little video I'm going to play in the background while we talk about some of the things in here. They're working on a new map, which is cool. And by the way, the frame rate on this video is a little wacky, so be aware of that. They're saying here that with the new map, it's going to be at least 8 kilometers, which is going to be double their current size map. So, which is not actually double; it's actually 4 times because it's 2 more kilometers in every single direction. So, it's going to be essentially 4 times as big as the current one, which is great. It really, in my opinion, matters how you populate the world. But nevertheless, new world coming out. It's going to have a couple things. There'll be some ATVs in there, which will make you be able to travel across the world a little bit easier. There'll be 3 seats available on that, so you can have that. The new map's also going to have, Brian, base building, which is kind of the steeple of survival gaming, having some sort of base building system. XERA previously did not have that at all. And they say this has always been their intention, but the map is going to have that base building feature in mind, as this is a goal for them with some of their prefab systems that they're working on. So you've got that. And then they're taking an approach that I think is one of the best things, and I think I've mentioned this about other games before, one of the best things that you can do in a survival game is add other game modes to it. Not a battle royale necessarily, but add something where people can take a break from the survival aspect, but still launch your game. Because if you launch the game, the likelihood that you'll actually play it for more than 5 minutes is a whole lot, larger than you not launching it at all. So what they've added here is, or what they're going to be adding here, is what you're seeing in the background. It's called Arms Race, which essentially is a death match, and you'll just go through and shoot at each other, and it's just gonna be an open world. Well, not really open world, but just a player versus player death match, which is super neat. Cool. Outside of that, they've also been working on a few things on the interface side. We've got some pictures here of the new HUD that they are working on. You can see some of the things in that and how you are going to be picking up items. You can see that on that screenshot. You can also see what it's like to interact with the players. You can see your squad in the upper left-hand corner. And then the inventory system, which has not always been the prettiest thing in the world to look at. They've done a lot of work on that, and that seems to be a lot more polished and neat looking now. You can see the marketplace, which is something that you can buy and sell things from the vendor, which you find in those safe areas across the map. and then finally your global stash. This game does have a lot of the Tarkov elements that I didn't really realize until I played Tarkov, but it does have a lot of those elements. So that's those are a couple of things that they're working on there, as well as crafting and loot spawn tables. They're working on figuring all that stuff out and refining those numbers. In-game events, which is a big thing, working on doing some things for that. And then new weapon types. They're going to start Season 2 with the next patch, and they're going to continue to evaluate what the season system looks like. And then they are going to be, they don't have an exact date on when those things are going to be available on the experimental servers, but they are going to be up on experimental before they put that stuff live. So they are making a serious push here to go from previously what it was. It was pretty much just a big PvP. There was no base building. There was looting, but because there was no bases and the stash system was kind of limited, it didn't feel like there was any reason to be pulling in all the loot. But with bases, that all changes. So that's a very good sign. And PH is asking, are there zombies? They don't have zombies. They've got those robot mech things that are kind of like zombies that go around the world. So they do have an NPC AI that is for all intents and purposes a zombie.
And I think that doing something like what they're doing right now, you try different things, see what works. I mean, it's very difficult to set yourself apart, especially right now. We've talked about in the last year, 2 years, about just the mass amounts ever since the economy started to recover, how AAA studios are just pumping out games like crazy. And so I think it's going to be interesting to just kind of see how it goes. See if he can find the right mechanics and the right kind of things to keep people interested, just like Rust did. I mean, that's the reason Rust was so successful, is because they figured out what people enjoyed and they have tailored it to that ever since. I think that's what Josh really needs to do with this, is figure out what's going to make people interested in playing every day, that's going to make it feel different than other similar games, the games that are currently similar to it, that have much bigger budgets. I mean, it's hard to compete with the AAA studio.
Yeah, and we've talked with Joshua a lot. He's the lead behind this game. And they've got, I mean, you talk about an incredible uphill battle. And all of these small studios got it. Last Oasis has got it. Dead Matter has got it. All of these games are in a very similar bucket in terms of resources that are available. And you want to talk about being a drop in the ocean. There are so many video games to play. Yeah. I mean, you're a teardrop in the ocean in terms of your uniqueness. So I tell you what, Brian, I really, really, really like the idea of the deathmatch. I think that is a great element that can break you out from the monotony, and I don't see many other games doing that. I don't want some bullshit mini game, right? That attempts to keep me stimulated. This is going to be a full deathmatch system, which is perfect. Yeah. There's nothing better than, I mean, you go all the way back to Unreal Tournament and Quake. I mean, that's just deathmatch. It's as old as video games are. Deathmatch. It works so well. Do you know of another survival game that's got a secondary deathmatch mode? I can't think of one.
No.
How much time does it take to make a deathmatch? It doesn't. You build a little.
I mean, he's got all the mechanics there, and it's just creating up the kind of the rule set that follows around it. And I think that's a good idea. Like all the things that you've already built, figure out what you can do that makes it work well. Make as much as you can out of the work you've already done. And I think that's what he's doing. And figure out what people like, and then if that's what you find people are playing your game to do, then keep on working on that and see what your game turns into.
Yes, sir. We want to thank our friend It's Judd for hitting us up with the 18-month resubscription here on Twitch. This is the man behind the Infection Podcast Extras channel on YouTube. So we'll give thanks to him for making sure everything that we say on the post show is available for more than 7 days on Twitch VODs. So thank you, Judd. We appreciate that, and all you do to support the program here. So that's XERA.
I did announce the game giveaway. So I'm giving away a copy of Dirt Rally 2.0. This is a game that currently so it's on sale right now. Normally it's $60. Actually, it's $40, but this one, I don't know which edition it is. It's pretty much the game plus 3 DLCs are added onto it. And so it's between $40 and $60, whatever that is. But this is going to be the Dirt Rally 2.0, and then it comes with 3 of the content things that are in the list down below. So this, if you're interested in this, even to car games, make sure to do exclamation point giveaway in chat, and then we'll give this away before the end of the show.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Brian. And go ahead.
I was going to say, there was a notice from Epic. Of course, we got to bring up Epic.
Yeah, I mean,
but
tell you what, times are tough, and we've got to pull in as much of that.
Got to make our money
as possible. Absolutely.
Now they have announced that they've acquired another company. Now I want to go back into the past. The last time we talked about them acquiring a company, and do you remember what I said that they were probably going to acquire next?
Brian, I believe you said something like, "Oh, this is the most amazing thing ever. I love Epic. They're just so fantastic. Oh, I hope they acquire the podcast." Is that something? Is that similar to what you said last?
I don't think that's what I said.
Okay.
But I did say that all of the moves that they've made up to this point, the next thing that I thought they were going to do is start acquiring things for creating characters. Right? Do you remember me saying that?
I vaguely remember something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So, and that, because that's something that they really lack. And so I kind of assumed that was going to be their next purchase. So they've acquired Cubic Motion, and that's the company that was behind the animation tech, the facial animation tech of God of War and the Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, which really they actually did a lot of videos showing how they did that, because there was so much about the facial expressions in Hellblade. But this is going to be, how they make it to where you, first of all, you have a character. I think that's still going to be, I think they're going to be doing a few more purchases in that area to make the process of creating a character and animating your character doable by your average person, because that is very difficult to do. This is part of the animation of it. So once you have a character, making it to where the face moves for cutscenes and things like that, and having it look realistic, I think that this is going to be, very big, because there's a lot of little products out there doing it, but this is one that does it incredibly accurately and it looks realistic.
So there's 2 different ways you make a model. Not make a model. There's 2 different ways you can animate. You can animate with a computer, where you go and say, okay, you move the arms, little bits and pieces, and have that interact. Or you can
it's a huge pain.
Yeah, because it's very hard to with your mouse simulate real life movement. Now you've seen these images before of these people staying in these big giant green rooms with all these little dots all over their face. Now in the movie industry, it's called mocap. They do motion capture, but they also do something very similar in video games, where they put a whole bunch of sensors on your face and or whatever part of the body they're trying to simulate, have a camera read it, and then they export that in a data type into a system and essentially merge that onto a model of a character. And now your movements as a person in real life are now being done by a modeling game.
And it saves a lot of initial work.
Well, but the problem is it's very expensive, because you don't mocap with a webcam. You're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for cameras, plus the studio space to do it, the sensors, the software. This is a multi-million-dollar venture to get into this. Now, Brian, here's a hot take for you. You're gonna your computer may explode with how hot this take is going to be. This is what Epic is going to do. They are going to make this available to their games, the people that use the Unreal Engine, at a very low price, and undercut the entire rest of the market, and essentially completely own the mocap industry.
Well, I think they'll probably do it for free. I mean, that seems to be the track record up to this point.
No, there's no way they'll do it.
But they've done that with the last couple of acquisitions they've done.
Now, they may give you things for free, like a base mocap, but if you say, hey, I want a player that does this in game, you will be able to essentially work through Epic at what I would assume would be a relatively low price to get that to happen.
Well, okay, here's where I could see them really expanding it is because what they want, what they're hopefully, most likely they're hoping to do is create the whole pipeline from beginning to end for getting a character in game and animating it. And this is one piece of that. I think that with this, you will see people using this tool to create animations that then they will sell on the marketplace. I bet you that they will have some sort of plugins, animations. Because one thing, remember they purchased that company that had all of those textures that, for making landscapes and for texturing items. They release a ton of those for free. So they've included that in the platform. They're available on their marketplace, but they're all free. And then you can make things, and people are making assets from those that they're then selling on the marketplace. So I think they're creating things that allow people to create things and then sell them on the marketplace. And they're trying to create the whole, or you can use it when you're making your own game.
I'm sure they will release some sort of base animations and things like that. But I think the real cool thing here would be, I want a custom animation. I can get a custom animation. Instead of spending $50,000 at a studio, I can spend $5,000 through Epic and Unreal and get that done. Or whatever. I don't know what the cost is for that.
Yeah, and I'm sure with this, it's kind of an odd one because there's a lot, as you were explaining before, there's a lot to do this correctly. It's just not, as you said, hook up my webcam, have it. But this is the problem. The ones that are currently there that are plugins that you can use, those ones are like that.
Yeah, and they probably suck.
They are. They're not accurate. They're not detailed to that level.
If you try to chroma key with a webcam, I mean that
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
that hardly works. I can't imagine trying to mocap somebody with that.
And so with this, it'll be interesting to see how accessible this is for your average studio.
Yeah. Izzy Trippin hitting us up with the 4-month resubscription here on Twitch. Izzy, thank you very much. We appreciate your support here, and everybody else. A lot of Twitch Primes coming in today, and just general Primes. We greatly appreciate it. We are hoping that PAX is still on, because if not, we're gonna have to just spend your money.
We're gonna have to go for a wild weekend in Vegas or Seattle. We'll go wherever there's the least amount of coronavirus. How about that?
Well, I'm just saying we'll have to spend your money somehow. So
we'll go to Missouri or something.
We'll be good. We'll be good stewards of your money. So we'll go to like Vegas and piss it all away on penny slots.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be exactly that. But we will re-recording it, so you'll feel like you got your money's worth.
You can't record in casinos.
Oh, okay.
If you record in a casino, they bring you to a back room and take like a buzzsaw to your hand or a sledgehammer and make it so that you don't ever come back. So I've watched enough casino movies over.
Yeah, Judd says pack China next. We'll go PAX in China.
Yeah, we could do that. So appreciate that. That will go towards our PAX trip, which we are still full steam ahead on. That's still pretty far out. So
we don't know what's going to happen up at that point, but we're planning that the world will become sane by the time PAX rolls around.
Hopefully everything chills out. They just did PAX East, and that I didn't hear any criticism of PAX East. So hopefully PAX West is still up and up. So interesting.
Yep.
Interesting stuff there from epiccubemotion.com if you'd like to learn any more information.
Yes, very good. So escape some Tarkov. I know your favorite game lately.
Haven't reinstalled it yet.
Okay, we'll see what happens. See if that continues.
No, I'll install it like tomorrow.
So they've been talking about some upcoming changes that they're doing. They did do a preliminary patch notes for this. So one thing is they were working, for instance, the interchange location. They've been reworking that. They've been making it to where there's new interactive objects in the world. They fixed the issues with culling, which really comes down we're saying a lot of developer terms today, but I guess that's good, so that people actually understand when they read these patch notes or see things like this. Culling is where when you can't see an object.
Are you saying culling or pulling?
Culling, Culling.
Okay.
So that's when you can't see an object that it's rendered. It's not rendered for you, right? So if something is behind an object, you don't want it to. Let's say someone is behind a wall and you can't see them.
Yeah.
Right. If you can't see them, well, why do you need to render that or know about it? Right. You want to cull that so that you aren't having to do all the extra work. Or let's say we really saw this with H1Z1. If there's a hacker, you don't want the data being sent to that hacker that you're around the corner and behind a wall, correct?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Data is being sent to the server saying you're there. And the server needs to be smart enough to say, all right, well, don't tell that person that they're around the corner. Now, the times that will be broken, for instance, if you hear footstep sounds, it needs to tell that player, okay, you're hearing footstep sounds from this location. Then the data is being sent, right? So that wouldn't be cold. But if that person shouldn't know that you're there, and there's none of the things saying that you're there need to be indicated to them, then that should be cold to where none of that data is sent, because hackers will pull data, even if it's not displayed to you. If it's being sent out to the player in general, a hacker can create a tool to then say, all right, well, sure, it's not, the game isn't going to be telling you when you're playing it, but we know that behind this wall there's a player. And then they'll start using those, wall hacks and everything else. So
damn wall hacks.
So it's best that they do true culling, and it helps with performance, not with just hackers, but performance. I mean, if there's an object behind a wall, you don't need to send all that extra data saying it's there, unless you actually need to see it. They added a new mechanic, overweight, where the character gets various debuffs for carrying a certain amount of weight. So, and also increased equipment noise.
No.
Movement.
Please, God, no.
Movement speed limits, increased stamina consumption, etc. So if you are carrying a ton of stuff, you make more noise, you go slower, and it uses more stamina. So you can't just sit there and overload yourself anymore.
This is I'll tell you this. This right here is a concerted effort by Battlestate Games against the rats. That's all this is, Brian. This is a big rat conspiracy theory by Battlestate Games. There's no other way around it. This is exclusively a pinpoint. They are holding a gun to the head of the rats right here. This is disgrace, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm pissed. I'm not going to play.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Also, they've added.
In all seriousness, it does kind of.
It does mess with some people's.
We have talked about
game style.
We have talked about the rat versus the Chad, and and what that is. You just any item you can pick up and fit, that's what you take, and that's now that does have its disadvantages in your inventory because it's always full of junk that you don't need. But this is gonna change. This will change the game significantly because they have no weight system now. I mean, you can have an inventory full of lead pipes and you run the exact same as if you have an inventory full of nothing, which isn't realistic at all. For a game that's got so many realistic mechanics, that's a big one.
Yep. Well, it'll be interesting to see where they're kind of going with this. I'm assuming there's a reason, that they're doing this.
Yeah, because it's a huge. You want to talk about a game that's realistic? There's no weight penalty. You can carry as much shit in a backpack as you want, and you run just as quick as a guy that's got nothing. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. The most basic of games have that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this may make it, have a little bit different, more of a play style. They may add a third play style, really, because you're going to have to balance that. You're going to have to figure out there's the guy who's running light, who's maybe looking for a specific item or, only picking up certain things. Then you've got the guy who just loads up on everything and he's like trudging around everywhere. But there's going to be now something in between. The guy who's, picking up as much as he can and kind of figuring out that fine line of what do I drop? What do I pick up? I got to stay right on this line. Yep. So I think it's going to create that kind of third person.
Coined it here first. When you hear it in Tarkov videos, it's going to be
the Joe.
It's going to be the rat, the Joe, and the Chad.
Yep. Yeah. There we go.
That's what it is. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't intend to be somebody, Brian, that sets trends like this. But I mean, what can I say?
You just can't help it. That's what you do naturally.
I mean, what am I going to do? I've already got two hands tied behind my back doing the show.
I know, literally. All right. So also they're adding a fatigue effect debuff. So which appears if the character keeps the stamina at a low level for a long time, energy consumption increases with this effect.
Which means you'll starve to death.
Yeah, the equivalent. Yeah, so it's going to have to be where if you're sitting there and just constantly having low stamina, it's going to affect you.
It's a problem.
So now the character stamina indicator is divided into arms and legs. So the arm stamina is consumed when aiming, throwing grenades, and fighting with melee weapons. The leg stamina is consumed when sprinting, jumping, and changing body positions. Also, the leg stamina starts to drain when the hand stamina drops to 0. So if you've used up all of one, it'll start affecting the other. The trading, flea market, inventory buttons have now been added to the bottom panel of the interface for quick access. The new hand grenades based on the VOG-17 and the VOG-25 prototypes been added. The resolution on your screen is automatically determined and applied as standard settings at the first start of the game. They've added new weapons mods. The new set of character customizations and equipment are coming up. So new bear top called Telnik, new bear pants called Tiger, new USEC top called Tier 2, pants called Commando, new scav top called Olympic Shirt Russia, and then new body armor, tactical vests, backpacks, helmets, active headsets have been added. The grenade case has been added. New barter loot and new trading schema requiring this loot, new hideout crafting schemas, new quests with new outfits as rewards. They've done some optimizations, fixes, and then a few changes. And they've been working on some translation things as well. So
I'm going to have to install this again.
I mean, they've changed it up quite a bit.
Yeah, they have.
So
they have changed literally. I would say they've changed over 50% of play styles.
Yep. One thing they said, changing endurance and strength leveling principle. So you'll be able to level them with medium overweight, not max overweight as now. So they did some tweets kind of just saying some of the things that they're going to do. So I think they're trying to really figure out, the best way, and who knows? I mean, I'm sure if it doesn't work, they'll roll it back.
Absolutely. Yeah. This development house is all in on doing what the community wants.
So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see where this ends up going. Yes, so PlanetSide 2, they have done we've been talking about Escalation, which is their expansion. They now have the official trailer for that. So I don't know if you want to play that and kind of see what it looks like.
I didn't realize it was a video. Hold on for me here.
No worries.
I don't think I downloaded it. No, I didn't. All right, let's take a look at this PlanetSide 2 video about PlanetSide 2 and all the cool things in PlanetSide 2. I have no idea what I just watched.
I know. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, they've added new things, but I don't know. It's just craziness. There's like airships and I don't know. They didn't really explain anything, but that's their launch trailer.
It's got the launch trailer's been out a couple days. It's got 150,000 views and it's got a bunch of likes. It's got almost 3,000 likes versus 57 downvotes. So I would assume the people that play PlanetSide like it.
Yeah.
Seems to be a safe assumption based on the YouTube video and the likes and whatnot.
Yeah. But I mean, so for people that are interested in that is that's the new expansion. I don't think I'm going to go and try and play it. Maybe if we do it as a game of the week or something, but I'm just not interested in PlanetSide 2. It's fun when we play as a group.
It is. And it's fun for a little while.
Not a game that makes me just antsy to play.
Definitely not. Let's talk about one of the nice games in which you are on a boat, Sea of Thieves, which I know that we've been highly criticized for not playing. I have Xbox Game Pass. I just can't be bothered. I don't think that's nothing.
It looks
against
like
the
a
game.
fun game, though.
It does, but it looks like a game that is gonna pull me in too much, and I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that for that kind of relationship at this point, Brian.
Yeah,
just
not ready. You're not ready for commitment.
No, I'm not ready for commitment, but I am ready to watch this video about the new update for Sea of Thieves.
Adventure awaits out on the waves with the latest Sea of Thieves monthly update. There's new voyages and rewards for pirate legends, some fiendish new weapons in your arsenal, and there's an all-new tall tale that'll lead you into the depths of the sinister Captain Flameheart's fiery lair. So hold fast and prepare to test your mettle as we enter the Heart of Fire. Duke has been tasked by the Pirate Lord himself to offer new voyages for pirate legends. He has arranged for legendary treasures to be buried in and around Thieves Haven, and now looks to the worthiest pirate legends to prove themselves against one another in a voyage for legendary loot. And if you haven't quite reached legendary status, you can join a pirate legend on their voyage, or go on the offensive and prove you've got the guts to poach the treasure for yourself. And of course, you can use these treasures to progress in Athena's fortune by cashing them in with the mysterious stranger. Completing the commendations for this voyage will allow pirate legends to purchase the ghost-themed capstan, cannons, and wheel for their ship, as well as the all-new legendary Treasure Seeker costume. As you battle for this legendary loot, keep an eye out for barrels containing the deadly new Blunder Bombs. Throw these baneful balls to blast your enemies with a brutal explosion. Perfect for sending unwanted boarders back into the depths. The adventure that started with Captain Pendragon in the Seabound Soul now continues with a new Tall Tale quest. Visit Morrow's Peak Outpost and use Grace Morrow's journal to track down Stitcher Jim. You'll face devious puzzles and traps as you navigate your way through the lava-filled caverns and skelly-infested tunnels of Flameheart's lair. Only the bravest pirates will make it through this challenging new quest. Though if you can, you'll be rewarded with the Ashen Hull for your ship. And for those that conquer the commendations, you'll unlock the hot new Ashen Curse, proving once and for all that you're the real fire starter. And over in the black market, Duke has instruments of all varieties. So now's the time to cash in your hard-earned gold and doubloons and spread sweet music throughout the seas. And in the Pirate Emporium, you can now purchase the delightfully crunch-tastic banana-inspired weapon set, as well as little banana costumes for your pets, guaranteed to make them even more appealing. And there are new emotes too. Whether you're the type who likes to stay organised, who fantasizes about your next meal, or who just likes to break loose with a fancy dance, there are emotes sure to hook everyone's attention. And if you're looking to get yourself over a bad day, then look no further than the Conquer-inspired Royal Sea Squirrel ship livery. This rather regal set displays the sort of luxuriousness that'd be fit for a king, where even the most discerning pirate would enjoy nothing more than a stroll along the great, mighty poop deck. And finally, it's time to steady your aim and prepare for battle with the introduction of the new Chain Shot. This spinning bundle of metallic malice is ideal for disabling enemy ships. Catch the mast and it'll topple it with one hit, or aim for the capstan, or wheel to deliver maximum damage. Seek out this new ammo type and you'll be sure to be reveling in a chain of glorious victories. So get ready to prove your legend across the seas and uncover mystery and adventure as you journey into the Heart of Fire.
Thank you very much.
Damn
for
it! They every time I know that it's coming up and I don't know when, and I just let it go a little too long.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. I forgive you. It was close. I thought you were going to cut out at the right time.
So did I, but then like it went black and there was a little bit too much time left. I apologize. All right, let's just play the whole video again.
Yeah, that'll solve it.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's go. Yeah, we got this. I think
So
with this,
ready to prove your legend
we don't have to
across
play the
the
whole
seas
thing again.
and uncover mystery and adventure as you journey into the heart of fire.
All right, Brian. We have a real cool video, real great video update there from our.
We
friends
can go and
over at-
edit the middle of the whole podcast, so you can edit that part and make it look seamless.
All
and you
right,
can render
Brian,
it for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, welcome back. After watching that video about Sea of Thieves,
Yeah,
they really have set an interesting bar for, in my opinion, for level of video content. Now, obviously, this is a Microsoft first-party studio behind it, so I get that they will never. I get that they are not. They're not some smaller indie titles, but it is very refreshing to see. It's very refreshing to see a video like that. When a lot of our videos we see, and I'm not bashing videos that we see, but because we're dealing with so many early access games, we're seeing a lot of unmeshed things and just weird looking objects. And that's we just watched a 5-minute cinematic.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
And I think they've done a really good job. I really would like to play the game, but just to try it out. You know, as you said, the danger is it's the kind of game that could pull you in, and you're just kind of that's what you do. And I'm not looking for that kind of a game right now.
Come play the video game.
Come play this game. But I think
Quit
for a
your
person
job,
who doesn't,
matey, and come sail the seas and buy skins.
if you play enough, you'll get this awesome ship and these skins. You only have to play 1,000 hours.
Keep buying skins or however you get them. I don't know.
Open crates. Yes.
We should do a pirate show.
Yes. So whatever it is, it looks like a lot of fun, but it's one of those I just know that to get to that point where this is so much fun. To get there, I just don't have that time right now. I barely have time to do half the things that I want to do.
Okay. And the biggest thing that you're missing out here, Brian, is that this is not a game you play by yourself. This is a game you play with your scallywag friends. And this is not in my opinion, and I'm not pretending to be an expert about this game because I'm not. In my opinion, this does not seem to be a game that's fun with. This game seems like a game that's only fun with, I would say, maybe 3+ people, maybe 4.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like a game that suits. Like, Brian, if you and I were like, hey, you and I are going to play Sea of Thieves, I don't think we'd have a great time. I think we'd have a fine time, but I don't think this is.
But this is one. That's what I'm saying. If you don't have a game right now, like you don't have a game, you're interested in a game where you could really get into it, kind of find a community and jump in. I think this is that type of game where you probably could. You have a place, you have an Xbox, or you play on the PC. You jump in, you get into a group, and this would be kind of your game that you get home from work, you play for an hour or two, and then that's what you do. Where I just don't have the hour or two every evening to play this. But I know that to have fun with it, I would have to play it an hour or two every day.
Firebomb says I have a group of 3 I sail with. So I think that sounds about right. Well, we do have a bunch of people in our Discord. I always hear a bunch of people saying, come play it, we've got it. The people that say you have it, play with each other. And then maybe Brian and I
think
join.
part of the problem is it's not on Steam as well, where it's not the normal you see people playing. It's through some other launcher or whatever it's on. I just don't see people playing it, so it's really hard to know who plays it and who doesn't. I know Firebomb says he plays it, but all the other people, you just don't know.
Yeah. Well.
So, so we'll have a link to that if you want to go check out some of the other things. They've got a full list of things. They're pretty good about covering most of the details in their videos, though, which I appreciate.
Yes, sir.
All right. So how are we on time? Because we did start later than usual.
We're just at about 2 hours. Do you need to get out of here?
Okay. No, I don't need to. I wanted to make sure.
Okay.
How fast you need to go.
Let's watch this SCUM video real quick. They did an interesting. I don't believe I've seen a video from them before, or if I have, it's been so long ago.
I can't think of it.
This is a SCUM video about their new dev update that they did, and they did it in kind of an interesting fashion. So we'll watch that, and then we'll come back.
Hello, guys. Welcome to our first development update video.
Well, there you go.
Today you'll meet some of my colleagues who will talk to you about the features they added into the game the last few weeks. Grab a drink and enjoy.
The idea is to add more threats to the environment, besides normal puppets and, of course, other players. The first threat we're adding comes in a form of a puppet with a few pounds of high explosives strapped to its chest. It behaves just like a normal puppet, aggroing when it sees you and running towards you, trying to strike you. Upon reaching a certain distance, the explosives will trigger, probably instantly killing you and making you lose all your gear, which is kind of the point.
One of the tasks of our animation team is to completely overhaul the weapons.
Hold on.
Can you pause it really quick?
Oh, yeah. That guy's got the mocap set up.
Right on the same page.
Yeah.
So when Nick was talking about mocap earlier and all the things that you have to do it, this is what they're doing. So for instance, you see him holding a weapon right there.
Yes.
They will put him in this gear, and then they'll have him run around and shoot a weapon how he would in the game. Then they're capturing every little aspect of how his body is positioned that they're then using to animate. So.
I'm surprised they're doing this in-house. This is a big investment.
Yes. But I mean, once you do it once, it makes it to where you can get animate without having to hire it out or rent studio time. If you're taking this seriously, it is worth it to be able to get the quality level of animations that you're looking for without having to have it be a month or 2 month turnaround time.
Yeah. All right. We'll put a timestamp in the show notes on our website. Back to the video.
The tasks of our animation team is to completely overhaul the weapons. M1 is the first rifle that will get this set of changes, including new motion capture animations, some visual overhauls, and much more. We are also trying to make a better difference between basic and advanced skill. Affected changes include recoil, reload, spread, and other gun-related mechanics. The idea is to include this weapon in an upcoming update, collect feedback, and apply it on the rest of the weapons.
In this patch, we have completely reworked the placement system. The old one was a big mess and was difficult to debug with our new features, so we just burned everything down and did it anew. From the player's perspective, most things should work as before, without the bugs, I think. And what's new is the improved blueprint placement system, algorithm, so you can place the blueprints more easily on your terrain. Also, you can place up to 10 blueprints at a time of any type. And finally, we added a new shader, because we can.
We implemented covering in bushes from AI on the island. The range they will be able to spot you from while in bushes is based on your camouflage skill, camouflage clothes you wear, and stance, whether you're standing, crouching, or in prone while hiding in bushes. Next, we have some new additions to the UI, visibility and sound bars. Visibility bar shows you guessed it, how visible you are with your current stats and close to the AI.
Biggest news regarding sound for next patch is utilization of stealth skill. Level of skill will adjust loudness and range of footstep, equipment noise, door interaction, search and inventory handling sounds. Also, walking in dense forest areas will produce foliage sounds that will be audible on longer distances. That will make players engage more and use more tactical approach to move throughout the map. We've been working hard on audio optimization as well. We reduced number of consecutive voices by half and instruction calls towards audio engine by 10 times. This will make room for some more exciting audio features in the future. And more bass.
I'm working on upgrading SCUM to use the latest Unreal Engine version. With the new Unreal Engine version powering SCUM, we expect to see performance improvements on both client and the server. Additionally, this will enable us to make use of all the new cool features developed in Unreal and keep SCUM up to date. When I'm finished with the Unreal Engine, there are two high priorities features for me. The first one is streaming improvements. With that, we aim to fix stuttering mostly noticeable when approaching or moving through cities. The other feature is metabolism, which is being reworked from ground up to make things better, consistent, and clearer, so that you can understand better what is happening with your car.
Jesus Christ.
They can get away with this stuff in Russia, I guess. No, you wonder why there's only like one case in Russia.
Yeah, because
it hasn't spread somehow. I haven't figured out how it has never spread.
So for the audio listeners, throughout the whole time, they were checking out their staff members for some sort of virus thing. And then at the end, the guy's coughing and they hold up a revolver to his head and presumably pull the trigger. So now that is a kind of video that doesn't have the production value, but is it's funny enough that it's effective.
Yeah, it definitely catches you as you go through. I'm just like, oh my goodness,
it's pretty good. I like that.
They did a good job.
Yeah, agreed. Top.
Good job, Scum.
As Nisco said, their game is shit, but the video is good. So we'll tip our hat to that. And go check out Scum.
I've got a comment for the post show that I'm not going to say during the live show. We'll just remind me. There's something I wanted to point out.
Okay, we'll do.
All right.
So that's Scum.
All right. So, and they've got a patch, and they've talked a lot about it, but we'll have a link to their patch notes. One thing they did do is they had a kind of a post where they really shout out to a lot of the private servers. And they have their Scumcast, which they've done episode 1 of.
Oh.
So if you're interested, we've talked about this where games start doing their own podcast. They have done their very first podcast. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, actually, since I didn't do that. But they have a YouTube channel. It's a 2-hour. I mean, they must have learned something from us, or this is a 2-hour episode. So
yeah.
Yeah. So this is something hopefully that's not like the first 20 minutes of is just we're going to be streaming soon, like some do. But this is their first episode. It was on March 12th. We'll put a link to it if you're interested in checking that out. But it's a podcast made by them about Scum.
Yeah, this is Withstand is doing something like this, and I've listened to a couple of those. 2 hours might be a little lengthy, just from because you're trying to digest the information, and I know even with this show, I mean we talk about sometimes we could talk about 12.5 games in 2 hours. It's very, very fast paced. So, I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to throw a stone at it, but that might, depending on how they structure it, 2 hours is a long time for just like information overload.
Well, and one thing that I will mention that, you being a podcaster, you will understand.
Thank you.
People have the best people have the best intentions going into a podcast. If you go into a podcast saying, I am going to do a podcast for 2 hours, well, you want to know what? You probably won't. We go into a podcast saying, we're going to do a 45-minute podcast, and you're here. Look at what the end result is. We don't do this. We don't do this intentionally. We'd love to do a 45-minute podcast.
To be fair, we do a 2-hour show now, but originally we did not intend on doing a show at this.
No, we started it saying we're going to do however long it needs to be. When we feel like the show's done, we will, and it just happens to be this. We've kind of hit our stride with this. But people coming into it, if we started saying we are going to do a 2-hour podcast, we would have really struggled to maintain that. We probably wouldn't be doing a 2-hour podcast if we went in saying we were going to.
We are going to now do a 2-hour podcast. Let's see if we can cut that time in half.
Yeah, so now we can fail and be like, oh,
yeah, darn.
Whoops. So anyway, so that I put a link to it in the show notes, so you will be able to see that episode 1. The Scumcast. Let's just run through go ahead.
I want to point out one other thing. They are doing something cool with this. So they've got all the people talking. They've got all these guys virtually sitting around like a table with some pizza and some sort of
so they're doing some sort of like motion tracking or something?
No, I don't think they're literally motion tracking it live, but they've just got these guys in game just kind of
but the thing is, when they're looking around, it's kind of mimicking them, though. I think.
These just look like passive movements, but it's pretty neat. I mean, it's cool, better than just having like static image. like it's a whole lot better than that. So that's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I think what they do is have characters that can sit and they're just kind of moving their mouse to look around, and like doing various emotes and things.
Cool.
So cool. Yeah, so that'll be in there. You can check it out. Let's go ahead and just jump on to some of the updates. For instance, like Arc.
Okay.
They have their, a lot of these are really small ones, quick fixes. There's one bigger patch in here. So 306.87, this was done on the 10th. They fixed an exploit. 306.88, this is on the 11th. They fixed several performance-related crashes. 306.89, this is on the 11th. They fixed an exploit with Ferox. 307.02, this is the bigger one. They went through and just did a lot of fixes for instance, on Ferox, they adjusted the knockback distance for PvP scenarios because it was also moving tribes tames. They increased timers and just did a lot of little fixes. I'm not going to go through them all. One thing they did add was they added a HUD notification during the VR boss fight to indicate you've reached the limit, probably because the VR does not display all of the same things. And this, fixes. So that's 307.02, and then they're on 307.1, which they fixed a crash related to the bog spider. So that is your Arc updates.
And we've also got a quick update here from one of my, I would say if I had to rate like games that I have really enjoyed and spent a good amount of time playing, I would say No Man's Sky is probably within the top 3 on that list. And they've got an update here, the Living Ship patch 2.33.
Your favorite game.
And just a couple quick things on here. Enabled tessellation on the Xbox One X. That's a developer term, isn't it?
Yes. So tessellation, okay, let's say for instance on the ground, on a map. When the ground isn't totally flat. On old video games, you'd look at the ground layer and it would be flat. It would be a texture on top of it, but it would be pretty much a picture of ground texture.
Gotcha.
Well, the other way to do that is to put a lot of detail where you're putting a lot of bumps and things onto a map. That adds a lot of detail that gets very expensive in terms of performance because you're adding so much detail. So the kind of way of getting around that is you create what's called tessellation, to where it will dynamically add bumps and texture and up and down, if there's dirt bumps and things like that to the ground on the fly, that's not necessarily put into the map itself. It may be a ground texture that then has detail to it.
Gotcha.
So that's tessellation, and it can be very expensive. They've really done a good job of kind of making it more performance friendly in the past year. And I know in Unreal, they've been doing that and having it to where it actually works better, but it's a way to get that kind of visual depth without having it being an actual, you've gone into the map and actually put all that detail in the map, which would make your map file huge.
Gotcha. So they did that, and they've enabled that on the Xbox One X, which is obviously a lot faster of a unit. Introduced a partial fix for an issue that caused players to fall through the terrain. That's a huge issue there. Fixed an issue for PC players who lost their Void Egg during the final stages of the Starbirth mission and were not able to recover it, so they hooked the community members back up with that. And finally, fixed to prevent base parts from spawning around weekend mission objectives, which I guess was causing some issues in the game there. So a couple of updates there from No Man's Sky. Their Living Ship patch 2.33.
Very good. Well, let's just talk about Dead by Daylight. We don't need to go into a ton of detail because we've shown teaser videos for this, but they did their Chains of Hate patch, and they kind of released that right during the show last week. But I was just going to mention some things they added. They added a new survivor to that, Zarina. They added a new killer, the Death Slinger. They added a new map, which was that Dead Dog Saloon. We showed a video showing a lot of that last week. And then they added a high ping indicator to the HUD. So now you can see if you're having a ping. So white icon means that it's 150 milliseconds. A red icon means 300 milliseconds.
Yeah, they showed in the lobby, but they must not show it in game.
So now, it'll actually show in game. Yeah. And then they did some balancing and things like that. I don't know that we really need to go into it, but just tweaking a lot of the different characters and mechanics.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of a trend here. Same thing with Conan Exiles, their update 16.03.2020. And this one is, there's a lot in here. Offering a sacrifice in Hanahum's Grotto should now provide a reward as intended, and then fixed an issue with VoIP. So you're up to date on Conan Exiles. Thanks for joining us.
Perfect. One thing, Astroneer, they put out their 1.10.9 update. So this is something that, for instance, they mentioned Steam players would have gotten this on the 10th, so just last week. Xbox Play Anywhere and PS4 players should now see it as well, since this came out. But they've gone through and they've introduced a new item to help players achieve truly flat surfaces, because this you can sculpt. It's got the ability to go through and really manipulate the ground, and with the voxel mechanics. And so you can go through and there's a object that you can now create flat surfaces. So for instance, if you're wanting to make a building and then have flooring, but it's the leveling block, and that's exists in creative mode. Small scrap items in the world can now be bundled for easier transport. So you can bundle a bunch of your tier 1 scraps, or now bundle into a single tier T1 scrap bundle. That makes it easier. They've done some performance optimizations and then a big list of bug fixes. So if you're playing that, hopefully you notice a little bit better performance.
This game looks like so much fun.
But it's kind of that same problem I think as Sea of Thieves. It just, to really get into it, it's kind of like it's like my what's the space game that I really like? Elite Dangerous. It's my Elite Dangerous. Like I love Elite Dangerous, but I just cannot commit the time that I know it takes.
We might have. This is going to be the next couple of weeks. Is going to be some good time to be playing some of these games, especially if people are working remote and your hour lunch can actually be like
playing a
you
game.
Can play a game for an hour because you can eat lunch while you work, or vice versa, eat lunch while you play a video game. So after I said I'm not going to be frivolous with my money, I'm going to end up buying some stupid video games I don't need. So yeah, there you go. That's Astroneer.
And then I think we have a Rust video. Did you want to do that before we end the show?
Yeah,
and there's one other. Actually, ROE put out a patch as well. I'll just mention that this was their March 12th patch. They have their Adventurer Pass bundle. So if you're interested in that, they have their new Adventurer Pass, and you can get it for 50% off right now. And up and through April 9th, this is where this sale goes, from March 12th to April 9th. So
gotcha. Yeah, let's take a look at this Rust video. It is from our good friend Shadowfrax. We'll take a look at that, and we will wrap up the show after he's done, right after this.
Greetings, survivors and friends. Shadowfrax here with your weekly airdrop of Rust development loot, and in this episode, builders particularly have some exciting new things to look forward to, and there's the return of an old friend. But first, you know what would make me happy? Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and ring that bell to stay regular with all the latest from behind the rusty curtain. So, you know how I mumble quite often about the commits, which are basically an ongoing log that anyone can look at, and which show what the team at Facepunch are currently working on. Link to this page will be in the description. Well, what you'll notice is that each commit shows which branch it relates to, with most of them being worked on separately and so not accessible by us peasants. Instead, we have to wait for them to be merged to staging branch at least before we can have a fiddle. One new branch that blinked into existence over the last week was intriguingly titled Building Blocks 2020, and what this means is exactly what it sounds like. Yes, we are getting some new bits and pieces to jam into our bases. Most excitingly, perhaps for medieval reenactment dilettantes, was the announcement of a new spiral stairs block. Now, we don't have any up-to-date visuals of these at the moment. However, some of you may remember in the dim and distant past, that is to say September 2016, I showed you an early concept for this very thing, which it seems is actually pretty close to what we'll be getting soon. Just don't take this as being exactly what it'll look like. Apparently, these new blocks will be modular, with each piece completing a half turn and going up by a half block. So 2 pieces will lock together to form a 360-degree turn and allow you to go up by a full block's height, with the landing being central to doorways. Hopefully that makes sense. Also, it seems that they'll work with triangular floor blocks too. Not sure how that will look yet, but this is definitely a step up. Talking of which, something that the rest of you will no doubt start foaming at the building plan about is the news that we will finally be getting triangular floor frames. And of course, what use would these be without something equally triangular to plug them with? Yes, you heard it here. We're also getting triangular floor grills and ladder hatches. So yes, many of you have been chewing the walls about one day having these, and so I'm very pleased to tell you that the wait is nearly over. Soon you'll be able to go up and down a small hole inside a tight space to your heart's content. Not only, but also, an old acquaintance, and a sorely missed one, will be reappearing on the scene like a long-lost uncle that had faked his own death. Yes, ramp blocks are coming back, it seems, although in a slightly different capacity. They'll attach to foundations in the same way as foundation steps, and also be placeable on floors. So far so good, but they are mainly intended to be used as a ramp for vehicles when they eventually arrive. So what, you say, why can't I use foundation steps for that? Because that's going to change. You'll need a proper ramp instead. Cars are not people. I don't care what you've seen in the movies. Also, we're getting a new half-floor block, it seems, which will be an awning and walkway block that's half a floor wide and normal length, and it looks like you'll be able to use the spiral stairs with these too. Also, thatch walls are being made thicker and more optimized with a 50 to 75% lower triangle count on LOD0. There may well be more to come, and I'll hopefully have visuals for you soon, but please let me know down below what you think to these new possibilities and what else you'd like if you could have it. There were a couple of hot fixes to Rust this week. On Monday, there was one that fixed some NREs, player state getting lost, and potentially resolved an issue with excessive server save times. Then, on Tuesday, an optional update for Mac startup issues, a fix for players being able to turn off the recycler when in use, and sometimes getting stuck in the new CCTV UI. In optimization, there's much work being done still to improve foliage grid performance, plus terrain instancing now. More on the results of these when I get it. The avalanche of cinematic tools continues, with the ability to spectate other players in first person during a demo being added, being able to list nearby entities within a certain radius, and being able to view the map UI during demo playback as well. Farming 2 is still ploughing its way along, with corn, potatoes and pumpkins being compostable, and news that the sprinkler will lose a bit of health each time it sprinkles. Vehicles are still eagerly awaited, well, for some, but the latest work shows that there'll be an engine UI and stats panel, an armored module, wheel spin, exhaust and damage sounds and effects, and the ability to push over and flip vehicles in much the same way as boats, I presume. Hopefully also whilst people are inside. There's plenty of progress being made still on the HDRP branch, of course, which is still quite a way off, and on staging the new version of Unity. 2019.3 has finally been merged in after most of the issues have hopefully been fixed. Right, you're up to date. If you appreciate the work I'm doing here, then please sub to the channel and consider supporting me over on Patreon, as these fine chaps already are. I stream on Twitch thrice a week for your viewing pleasure, and you can also keep up to date with my content on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group. Links below. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
All right, thanks Shadowfrax for that, as always, keeping us up to date in the world of Rust.
Now, I was going to mention one thing. I noticed Steam, there's a 10.2 gigabyte update for PUBG, and what that is, if you notice that, that'll be the 6.3 update. So that's going to be on the test server. So I'm assuming, because I think you can pick without having to subscribe to a different download channel. So you'll be able to test that 6.3 version. So that'll be what that large download is.
All right. I think that brings us up to date, Brian, with all of our news. Well, without further ado, let's take a look at some current players. People that are currently playing some of the video games that we talk about here on the program. Currently playing DayZ, 11,146. The 24-hour peak, 20,666. The 7-day peak, 23,789. Pretty strong showing there from DayZ. Let's take a look at Ark. Still on the boost from the new DLC, 65,371. The 24-hour peak, 112,477, with a 7-day peak of 136,528. Moving on over to Rust, solid numbers as well. 53,605 people currently playing that. 82,769 is your 24-hour peak, with a 7-day peak of 86,303. Let's take a look at 7 Days to Die, currently playing 17,403. The 24-hour peak, 21,107, with a 7-day peak of 22,405. And rounding us out today, the sleeper, Brian, still relatively strong numbers for Conan Exiles. Almost 9,000 people currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 11,860, with a 7-day peak of 13,961. Not something you'd expect from Conan Exiles, but I'm glad to see that they've still got a good group of users that are actively playing that and probably buying DLC, which is great.
One thing to keep in mind is they haven't put out a major content patch in a little while. So, I mean,
yeah, a couple of weeks,
a lot of times,
or a couple months.
You'll see a boost of players around those times, but it's good that, a couple months after content, you still have people playing it like that.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. Are we ready for tip of the week?
What's tip of the week?
Well, that's when either I give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. And I figured since a lot of people would be playing Warzone, I would give that for my tip of the week.
Oh, boy.
All right. So in Warzone, there's something fun that you can do, and it's the ability to shoot people while you're still in the air. So after leaving the plane, one thing you can do is if you open your parachute really quick and then close it, you can then draw your weapon. And so this allows you to shoot enemies. So you can shoot people that are in the air, parachuting down, or you can shoot people as you fall. Just one thing to keep in mind, you need to make sure that you remember to reopen your parachute because you will be falling quickly towards the ground. You can use your parachute also as many times as you like in Warzone. Unlike some other games, Fortnite, for example, you can use it again if you use a special jump pad. But in this, if you can jump off a building, whatever you're doing, you have the ability to reopen your parachute. So anytime you happen to be in the air, if you have a little bit of a distance to fall, you can then cue to open up your parachute, and it should save you from hurting yourself. So that is tip of the week.
All right, that's a good one there, and I've seen that happen. Not for me, of course, but for other people, yes.
So and this will be interesting to see how hard it would be to actually shoot, because you start with a pistol, right? So you'd have to be shooting someone with a pistol from
at pretty far range. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be easy, but I'm sure we'll see people doing it.
Firebomb saying, is this a game worth the bandwidth? If you're a Call of Duty fan, absolutely. If you are looking for, well, and by the way, we'll say again, the Warzone mode is free, so there's no cost, which is good. So the question is hard drive space and bandwidth. I would say, yeah, to try it for sure. It's got a very unique BR feel. And if you're somebody that likes Call of Duty, I think you'll like this. Because it feels like COD multiplayer, but in a battle royale, which is a very unique feel. There's no other game like it. It's got COD is very unique in how it feels.
Yep. But yeah, so one thing, Firebomb, we were mentioning earlier, is you may want to look to see if your ISP is giving you a break on bandwidth caps right now. And maybe this would be your week to sit there and just download everything that your heart desires.
Yes, sir. Game giveaway. What do we got?
All right. So let's go ahead and pull this. This is for Rally 2.0. It's a racing game. Also comes with 3 DLCs. So let's go ahead and draw the winner. And congratulations, Firebomb. There you go.
I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Now he's going to have to decide, is it worth the bandwidth to download Rally 2.0? He likes racing games, so hopefully he'll enjoy this. And I will send you the link that you can use to redeem your copy of the game on Discord.
Yes, sir. Before we get out of here, Brian, obviously we made some jokes and whatnot during the show, and I think we did a pretty good job of keeping it away from regular news. But I will say this. We don't do politics on this program. We're not going to start doing politics today. But in all seriousness, there are places where you can get information about things that are going on. It's your state and local officials. It's not the news. I'm not attacking the news, but the CDC, your local emergency management, your state emergency management, and then of course the White House has got a task force on it. Make sure you're listening to your local officials and what they're having to say, and do whatever you need to do to keep yourself and your family safe. So on that note, I will say happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Brian. If I was next year, I'd have to pinch you because you're not wearing green, and your lame ass excuse of a green thread in a blue shirt. You washed it with something green, and there's a piece of green stuck to it, and you're like, oh, it's green. I'd have to pinch you, but since we're practicing social distancing on this program, I'm not allowed to do that. So, what are you going to do? Color yourself?
I have a green pin.
Okay, well, congratulations. So, Brian, thank you. And we'll see you Friday night for Call of Duty. We'll be playing Warzone free Friday night, and then we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Infectio.
Yep, we're surviving. So
yeah,
hey, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Boise Computer, or you can go check out my blog biteoftech.com. The one thing you do, if you happen to be working from home, you're home able to play some games with us, make sure you come and jump on our Discord. If you go to our website on the right hand side, you'll see join our server on Discord. It's a free app to use, very lightweight. They have a mobile desktop version, also a web-based version. If you want to get a notification when we start our live show, you're going to happen to be home. Good chance you might be home during the coming weeks. Make sure you join our Steam group, and you'll get a notification in Steam when we start our live show. And that's easy and free. Also, we have links to our YouTube, Twitch, and our Mixer. So if you're looking to watch us live or watch the video formats of the podcast, you're welcome to do that. If you want to listen to the audio only, you can do that in the lower right-hand side for whatever platform you happen to be on. Also, we have our show notes for now 270 episodes of the podcast. So if there's a video we showed or something that you wanted to go check out, the article or whatever we were referring to, we'll have that in the show notes, and those are on for all episodes that we've done. And if you want to help support us financially, and hopefully we can go to PAX if the PAX exists this year, you can do that by either, if you're going to order anything on Amazon, just type in amazon.infectionpodcast.com in your browser. If you're going to do any Humble Bundle purchases, do humble.infectionpodcast.com. Or, as you've heard throughout this show, people giving their Twitch Prime subs, which is our primary way of being able to fund PAX. And we really appreciate that when people do it. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir, Brian. Thank you. And we will see you next week. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining us here on Infection Podcast. I know it's kind of a weird time for everybody, but we'll be here. We'll be doing our show, and we'll be doing our best to. I know it's stressful. We'll take your mind off of some of the reality of things going on. So we'll be here again next Tuesday for another episode, and hopefully you'll join us on our Discord and some of our other social channels. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.